Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. The notice of the special budget meeting resolution 23-99 has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley News, has been posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and the Borough website. Okay, the first item on the agenda is public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak either online, anyone online, Omar?
Judge Cohen?
Judge Cohen?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably for the court.
Right.
To make clear.
Cohen, I don't know what the... So there's a person online named Judge Cohen, is how it's coming across? You want to speak? It's public comment time. No, okay. And if no one's here, Omar, it looks like in the conference room.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to close public comment time, and we're going to start our departmental reviews with the Nature Center. Deborah Davidson is here. Hey, Deborah, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
What's going on?
It's spring. So many things are going on.
I know.
At the nature.
Yes,
So we had a very successful last year. Good morning. With a lot of stuff going on. Schools are definitely back with in full force. Field trips and groups that want to come up there. Last year we provided over 1,600 programs throughout the year. This is when I say last year, I mean 2022. And we had over 20,000 visitors who came through the trails to enjoy the trail system.
20,000 visitors.
Over 20,000, because those are just the ones that we were counting during the 9:30 to 4:30 time period.
Do we track year over year? Do you have a chart you can share with us over time?
Yes and no. It's not always complete because of staffing and the inability to have somebody always at the front.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Where is the Nature Center tab?
It's
under admin. Right.
I know, that's what I said earlier.
She also provided a narrative. I mean, if you want me to make copies, I can make copies of the narrative.
No, is the narrative in here?
No, it's this one. Here, do you want to take it?
I'll make copies.
Please, pass it around. Please don't make copies. We don't need to waste it.
But by the way, to your point about classes are back, I have been nudging in Rochelle Park, my 7th grade class, to contact you, and they said there were only 2 dates available, which is a good sign.
Right, we are full. We have, for the spring, we are basically full.
And I'm hoping they get one of the 2 remaining.
So it depends on the schedule and the bus's schedule. In fact, in the fall and winter, we focus primarily, because most schools don't want to come to field trips, especially during the winter time, so we did a lot of outreach programs during that time period. This past year, we received a grant again to reach to more low to moderate income schools, Title I schools, and so we were really focusing on that this past winter and doing outreach to those schools. But this spring is when we get most of our field trips coming in, and yes, we are currently beyond packed. Part of our limitation right now is staffing. If we had more staff, we could potentially do more programs, but we have been having a hard time finding qualified people to come in and teach individuals. Our summer camp is also almost basically full. We have a few spots in some weeks, and it changes every week, but that we are also working on trying to find staff for at this time. We get phone calls still every day, everything from asking about the animals that people are seeing in their yard to wanting to know about trees and things that are going on in the town. We have one staff member who continues to reside on the property and goes out through every month and checks the trails. And we just completed our annual boundary walk, where we collected a ton of garbage. Information will be sent to those that need to remediate anything, neighbors and such. We're still trying to make contact with one of our major neighbors and trying to clear up some situations there.
I'm going to just say that's Montana, and they're not cooperating.
Right.
Yeah. We continue to update signage as needed. If I know that somebody's getting lost or having issues, we're printing out new signs and posting it up there so that we make sure that the trails are easy to read, accessible, and kept in a good shape. This past week, on Monday, we started the refurbishment of the eastern side of the main trail, which was damaged by Hurricane Ida. And we received some funding from FEMA. That's costing about a little over $15,000 just to do that side of the trail. And we're gonna have to upfront all of that, and then we'll get a little bit of that back from FEMA, but not the majority of it. So, but that trail needed to be redone. Yes.
You could, can we reapply again for FEMA? Can you keep?
We had to apply for it, and we had to go through the SBA and FEMA, portion at the same time.
You can not so much reapply, but sort of appeal it. They will
Yeah.
come and revisit.
All right.
I know from personal experience.
And then we worked with the Trash-a-thon last year, we're doing it again this year. I've already applied for the stuff and asked, Councilman Park to follow up to ensure that we have the supplies for that, so that we can have a clean, not just nature center, but all of our green spaces in the town. We are still in a lot of conversations with other environmental professionals within our network about the situation that's occurring around the country now with raptors that are being affected by pesticides and the boxes. Yes, the SGRs, and we want to make sure that we don't have a repeat of the whole DDT issue in the future, since raptors, one great horned owl will eat over 100 rodents a year. So if we're poisoning them, then they can't do that, and then we lose them. And we are still working with our volunteer organizations, with New York Future State Trail Conference, Eagle Scouts, in order to kind of help maintain and build and take care of the trails as they are needed. Our one staff member is currently approved to use a chainsaw, and we utilize other assistance of other local professionals when we need to. I would say our biggest issue right now, and one of my biggest concerns at the Nature Center, is safety and security. Knowing that we are surround the JCC, surround the Greek church, and that we are an area that people have kind of found more so, especially after 2020. We are definitely seeing a higher traffic volume, and we've had a couple of instances which raise concern for me, especially in light of situations that continue to take place around this country. I want to make sure that we are being proactive and not reactive, and my biggest concern right now is that people can come up at any time throughout the day or night, and we sometimes don't know what they're up to in the shenanigans that take place. I was up there during one of the tropical storms where power was lost in a lot of places, and I was up there till 10 o'clock at night. The power lines had come down in the middle of the park, because those who might not know, there are power lines that run through the entire main trail, and those had all come down. And I found 4 teenagers walking out of the woods at 10 o'clock at night, local teenagers. So I would like to prevent people from getting hurt up there. For that, we need to have some changes. We've been trying to apply for extra funding from grants and things like that. We were successful in obtaining a grant to help with our forest stewardship management plan, and with that, we were able to follow one of the directives in order to help eliminate some of the invasive species in a 3-acre plot this past year, where we then were also donated 100 trees that we planted there recently, and we'll be getting some more trees through the town to help offset the tree loss that happens in the town. We're happy to plant those in lieu of having those invasive species. We were also successful this year in obtaining a grant from the New Jersey Department of Tourism, as the Nature Center is a tourist destination in
How
the
much?
state. I believe we got $15,000
Very nice.
from that, and
Very
so
nice.
we're actually redoing our
Good job.
website and putting together some marketing materials to really help encourage people to come to the borough and to really see what Tenafly has to offer.
Morning, Jeff.
But as I mentioned, my biggest concern is safety and security, because as we continue to encourage people to come up this way and to take a look at this town and to enjoy the businesses and the nature center, we want to make sure that people are being treated in a safe space. We did have one incident recently that involved the police and a police report where we had a person trespass come into the building and basically went through people's desks and was looking to steal whatever they could find. They ended up, we had a young female staff member who was by herself and was able to successfully get them to come outside without any sort of an altercation, thankfully. But that person did get away, and they were able to get caught later on by the police because they tried to do the same thing at one of the local car dealerships.
So can I just interject?
Yes.
So this is a really big concern. The Nature Center each month discusses the safety, security, and border of its center. We have 400 acres that open, don't forget, from 9W. So people are coming in. We had squatters literally living there for like a year in the pandemic. We had to kick them out. But, so with Deborah's permission, we applied actually to Gottheimer's federal funding for safety. Now, the grant writer that the Nature Center had is fantastic. She actually applied for a Homeland Security grant, and we didn't get it. So we're going to try this other avenue with federal funding, but I will implore my council, if we don't get that, we cannot ignore this, and we have to go and shore up our Nature Center and our building security. You know, we don't even have a fence right now to the property. We have no security cameras, which have been asked for. In the pandemic, not to make a joke of it, but the big deal with the teenagers was use the Nature Center and for your first time. And so there was lots of people going up there for, you know, all different fun reasons in the middle of the night. And Deborah and her staff cannot patrol that. And her police cannot always patrol that. So, again, we're going to hopefully see if we can get some money. What do we apply for, $20,000 for homeless?
Isn't it a $70,000 cost or $67,000?
How much was the total for safety and security?
What's the number?
It was, I believe it was,
It's about $67,000.
yeah.
And they did an audit.
We had an audit done, and
They
we
did
had advanced security come up to perform the elements that were within that audit.
What was that
Yeah.
for?
That's safety and
Cameras, new doors, because right now our doors are we have one entrance in and out, and that
For
is
their building.
for our building,
Right.
which is where the children are. And so I don't want to have a safety situation where there's somebody that comes in that we wouldn't want around the kids, and we can't get them to a secure space.
So do you have any money available towards security?
Not right
No.
now. No, we applied for
Does
the
the
grant,
board
we were
have any
turned down.
ability to raise any money for security?
Not at this time. We're applying for grants. That's how we are trying to apply for funding for it.
Yes.
Right.
Julie, then Lauren, please.
Is that something that our chief, our police department, because they're part of our town, could that be included in that budget when he?
If the council chooses to fund the Nature Center at a different dollar level, you can do that. And if they use some of that money for security, of course. It's our profit, it's the borough's
I'm
property.
not talking about I'm talking about funding just from the security angle.
Well,
It's not
what do you,
it's
so I'm
not
sorry.
like funding the Nature Center for them to then
It's securing
allocate
our
as
property.
security.
Securing
talking-
our property.
Yeah.
So, good question, so I'm gonna, Deborah, how did you come up with this security plan? Why
So that's a
cameras
good
and doors?
question. I spoke with Chief Chamberlain, and he had one of his sergeants come up. We had a conversation, and they actually had us speak with the county prosecution office and one of their people who comes out and does, Mr. Bill Salone, he comes out and does safety audits. And he came out and he provided us with a safety audit, of which he found several issues and areas that needed to be addressed, some more urgent than others. And we used that, and then we brought in advanced security and had them take a look and give us a quote based on the audit, what it would cost to fix those areas that needed to be fixed. And that's where we came up with the number between cameras and new doors, just so that we can, windows that needed to be fixed. There's several things that need to be done in that space, because once again, this is a building from the 70s. It does not have a lot of wiggle room because of that. and there's some areas that need to be adjusted.
And I just want to say, because I've been listening to these conversations for many years at this point, that the Nature Center has done everything that they can possibly do, so they're not coming and asking here for taxes. But at the point we're at, where we've applied for various grants, we're now trying for federal money. If these are not successful, I don't think we can ignore this much longer. And I think it puts us in a very bad position, and it puts Deborah's staff in a very vulnerable position.
Did you have an idea?
Number for the Davies Johnson camera.
I think it was like over 10,000, like camera, you know, it might have been in
Two, right?
several
It might have been
places,
two
2 or
in there.
3.
The entrance and the rose garden
Yeah.
entrance.
And that's a smaller space.
Can I ask a question?
Like 400 acres.
What was the quote that they came up with?
It was like 60, 70, something like that.
Oh, okay.
I have the quote, I actually.
Yeah, it's either 67 or 72, that's because I've read it 100 times. It is right in that neighborhood.
And I'm just going to say something else, like, we are going to hopefully pass tonight some money for the Nature Center out of our open space. But we are, in our town, in charge of these 400 acres. And the Nature Center cannot even pay their employees and are losing employees and staff because the salaries are so low, and this is a theme that we have, you know, throughout all this budget. The salaries are so low, and so we really can't even appropriately staff our 400 acres. So that 50,000 that we're considering tonight has to go towards the functioning and maintenance of the 400 acres, and we are not allowed to substitute anything for salaries, because that's completely done by the outside board. And so they can't just take that 50 and put it into the security. It's already earmarked for other things in their budget, very, very tightly, because I get to see the budget. So I'm just saying this would be an additional ask.
Our big thing, because you asked if we can fundraise for this, the big thing is that we have to fundraise for our operational costs. So to fundraise on top of that for something like this, that's an even bigger fundraise, and we already have sometimes a hard time getting the funds needed for the operational costs every year. So this is, most grantors want to fund projects, they never want to fund operations.
Right.
So that's why we're applying for grants for this, because this is a project in a way. And it's definitely something that I personally feel needs to happen, especially because we do operate our hours, our staff are there anywhere between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. at night, sometimes 10 p.m. at night. And so once you get, especially at nighttime, we can't have 7 people up there. It might be 1 or 2 people up there. We try to keep it to 2 people, but once again, because of staffing limitations, especially recently, even sometimes that doesn't always happen. And once again, our structure is from the 70s, and even though we might have replaced the doors at some point, they haven't been replaced. They weren't replaced to a level that needs to be. Yeah.
But can I, so,
Jeff is next, Jeff, and then Julie, go ahead.
So, I all for safety upgrades, to the point of 400 acres. I mean, some of it's accessible from 9W, East Clinton. We're never going to protect 400 acres. I think the main concern is the building and the facility, right? So that's a little more contained. We're not putting cameras to watch deer and bear and all that. So here's my question. You want us to go from 40 to 50,000. I am all for supporting the Nature Center, always have been. What would you like that money? You're asking us for money. What's that money going to be used for? Can we talk safety and improvement? I know you've asked for grants and you've been turned down. So do you want 20,000 of that to go towards, the priorities of the building, like doors, camera? How do you want that broken down?
That 50,000
Mhm.
is just what it costs us to take care of the property every year. That's all that covers. It costs us the materials that are needed for clearing the trails and keeping things taken care of, and having the staff and the manpower to be able to do that, and to oversee volunteers. Because remember, we have one person who does that, and basically oversees a team of volunteers that come in. Now, that's what that money is used for. It's not at all, none of that is meant for safety upgrades, because our first priority is making sure that the property is upkept.
so like.
Okay, and
Trail maintenance and the facilities.
And so the ask from 40 to 50 is because of the damage you were talking about?
Because there's been an increase in cost
And
on
increase in
all
cost.
levels.
Oh, we know that. All right, I just want to make sure, because if we're going to go from 40, which used to be 35, to 50, I just want to know
Yeah.
what the money exactly is being used for.
That is the cost of taking care of the trails, and that's even with us covering part of that.
And that is 400 acres of
Yeah.
trails, that I do know. Okay, and maybe we can have a future discussion, if you keep applying for grants and getting turned down, we can have a future
We're
discussion
applying for
about
not only
security.
the one federal, we're applying for another federal grant as well. So it's another Homeland Security one.
Mhm.
So, because there was a state-run one and then there was a federal one. So we're now going for the federal one. But the key is that I can't rely on grants always because they could say no.
But I think my point is, let's keep that discussion open for future, depending on what happens, because I don't want to see, anything happen in there in terms of safety. So that's a good discussion, not to just stop today.
Quick
This is the target, just hold on a second, so Julie, Adam, then Dan, but I want to make a comment. So this target hardening grant, that you had sent me, it's $62,000.
How much?
62,000 is the number, I'm looking at it.
When will they know?
When will you know about this target hardening grant?
It might not be until like next June, July.
Next.
This June or next?
24 or 23?
I think 23. I'm hoping it's 23.
So,
I can double check. Still in a few months.
Okay,
I can
Julie,
double check.
Hi,
Julie, then,
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Not
I'm sorry.
exclusive.
Said something on the grant, so.
go ahead.
So, let's say, I mean, this is really important, I think, but you could always do, a municipal open space ordinance if you choose to wait until June to find out the answers for that. Or maybe we could fund it, and then if they get the grant.
So that's what I'm gonna, that was my
Yeah.
question. So out of the 50, should we put 20 in operating, and then the other 30 for open space? This is full qualified for open space.
So I wouldn't put, well, what I was starting to think about is that we have other cameras that we haven't put in any of the other parks. So, you know, we still have money out there for these other cameras throughout. So maybe we should do one big security
Yeah.
Right,
funding,
Yeah.
and then go out to see where we could find this funding if she doesn't get the grant and do all of the borough. Because we have some funding for DJ Park, right? And then
And
there's
it's the
money for
teen
the teen
center. It's
center.
all part
And
of
then
one.
since that hasn't been done yet, maybe we
He
put
can tack
everything
on a few more
under,
cameras.
Yeah, you could do,
well,
the council could do open space funding in July if we don't get the grant in June.
open, we could either do open space
No, no, but
or
it
do
won't
one
qualify for
ordinance.
that. Open space won't qualify for camera.
Right, so,
That's why I'm saying split the funding. Should
but
do
I
it.
don't think we should put anything.
All right, so let's
But-
finish the conversation about what we're doing before we get into figuring out how we would pay for it if we decide to pay for it. Julie, and then Adam, and then Dan.
So my thoughts
Oh, no, but,
for this, you know, maybe because as a teacher, I'm coming at it from a really specific, perspective. We have students who use this building, and heaven forbid, something happens when kids are in this building, and also fire. And I'm thinking of all these things that are, you know, incorporated by the $67,000, price tag of securing this building and parking lot, basically. And I really think, since we have the chief coming in, and we have this thing about cameras that haven't been ordered, although I just have to say it's taking an awful long time to order these cameras. But I just think that irrespective of the discussion about the maintenance of the Tenafly Nature Center, that conversation actually should be had now. I don't mean now, like within the next 5 minutes, but within this budget cycle, so we get the $67,000 to shore up that, because if something happened, it's like our houses of worship in town. We've put resources to those things. I mean, it's part of our town. We have our kids going there. We have workers there. And I'm looking at fire, and I'm looking at heaven for gunmen, and I'm looking at terrorism. And I'm just saying, we have to secure this up in $67,000, since we have such a huge budget with our police. You know, and the security. I just don't know why we can't have that just totally be incorporated into that. He gets, in fact, that, the chief gets funding in different ways. He's really good about, you know, auctions.
But that's just
this
moving the
and
money from one budget. It's still within the same, it's still within this binder.
Do you only need
No,
to...
but that's,
okay,
it's
so
irrelevant, and
I'm just gonna...
he's just talking about open space for the management of the nature center. I'm saying this issue of securing that is more of a governance job.
So Julie, I think my comment is gonna be, the council has to decide yes or no to funding it. How it gets funded,
Right.
we could work all kinds of magic different ways to make that happen. That's not even relevant. It's just about whether you want to do it or not, and if you choose to do it, it could be done. But then, wait, hold on, go ahead, and then Adam.
I just wanted to also remind you that our grant writer is paid by the Nature Center, so we're already fronting the money to try to even find funds out there that are not getting covered by anything except for our own, you know, other resources of funding from,
their board. I know.
so,
By
yeah,
the way, the grant
the
writer
board
is
needs
phenomenal.
we definitely
The issue.
pay her
You'll hear what
to
I'm
do
saying.
the job, and so that is one of the positions that has to be funded through our operation funding.
All right, Adam, and then Dan, and then Mino, please.
So I think I have a bit of a different point of view, and Deborah and I speak often, and Deborah and I just had coffee just a week ago. The what, actually, I trust you guys on the what. The question is the how. How do we fund this? Every year, so I've been doing this now for 4 years, every year the gap gets bigger, and by the way, I'm sure Deborah's being even more frugal with the money, it should be even more. Fundamentally, we're broken here with the Nature Center and the budget, how we budget for it. My personal point, you've heard me say it before, and I will say it again. I fundamentally disagree with how the 20% of the municipal budget pays for 100% of the Nature Center, when I couldn't have just given Councilwoman O'Connor money when students come, because it's for students primarily. Like, that's the whole thing. My son yesterday, he had no time for me to see how it went, but my son yesterday went to medieval times.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was so terrible.
Why are they not going to the Nature Center? So my point is, and Deborah could clarify, the school, not only are they not keeping up with how much the council, the municipal budget's going, it's actually going down year over year over year over year over year. The what, I trust you guys on. I respectfully, strongly disagree with how we keep adding more and more money when the school, the 80% of our budget pays less and less. So let me be very specific on my request. I will not give a penny more than the school. We have a joint use committee. They never meet because they keep canceling on us every single time I ask for a meeting. But I am not supporting anything that is not a dollar for dollar match to the school. I will give $100 million if the school board will match that number. That's my proposal.
Wait, first Vanu, then Lauren. Dan,
No, I
Vanu, then Lauren, please.
So, I just, the 50,000, you know, how much is that of the overall budget?
Oh, we're suckers. It just says sucker on our back.
That's like, our budget is.
I call it. They cancel every time I call it.
A little over 800,000.
Mm-hmm.
So 50,000 is not a large amount in that, but it is a big part of the trail portion, because the education portion of our budget is covered by the program fees. And to
Medieval
Councilman
times.
Michael's comment, this
school
year we
used to
are
do
bringing
that
in
too.
more money from the school.
What are you getting?
So we get, I think our latest thing, we have two different sources that come from the school. We have a memorandum that we sign every year for the elementary schools. This year, we have the high school that has also shown an interest in doing some, so that was outside the memorandum. And we have after-school programming that we provide for the schools. So we are not at our
But to Councilwoman Davis' part, very specifically,
Yeah.
how much did the school give us last year? Give the Nature Center last year?
look it up in 2 seconds.
Perfect. I'd love to know that number.
I love Adam's idea, and obviously we need to put more pressure on them, but the reality is they just finished their budget cycle. So for 2023, we might be out of luck with that.
Well, so for 80% of the school board, what did they think the value of the Nature Center was?
Well, you know, one of the things we have to remember here, whether we can have the school board pay for our entire road paving program. as taxpayers, it's not gonna make one bit of a difference. Because it's all coming out of the same pockets, the money.
No, so it does come out of the same money, but it makes our budget more and more difficult. So, to Councilman Grossman, does a great job. We disagree many, many times, but is fiscally conservative on our budget. This is $50,000. And again, open space, I don't care. All you do is keep moving the money around. It's $50,000. I'd happily give 50. I want to see the school give 50. I have a dollar bet with you that Deborah's going to tell you the number is 10,000 or 20,000. I guarantee you, it's not going to be $50,000. And again, 80-20.
It's around $26,000,
$20,000.
Yes, Jeff. Okay, hold on, one at a time here. Lauren, did you have your hand up?
Okay, I can explain.
No, I said it.
I can explain. Basically, what happened was we were part of the school budget, and in 2009, they had to cut $2 million because of the state and how that
The 3% or 2%
Right.
cap.
Our
2%.
$25,000 was part of that cut. So they took us out of the line. So since 2009, they have been affording their programs through a grant that they apply for. And that grant just doesn't cover the Nature Center, it covers buses, it covers other things. So they've been able to continue paying, but it did mean that the level of programming that they did with us did go down at that point. It has steadily been going back up, but we are still not as part of the budget line anymore. And because of the after schools, we do definitely bring in, around 26, 27 a year from them. But I do
So it's actually one step worse. So not only is it this
Yes.
low $20,000 number, are they putting even a dollar into it, or it's 100% grant driven?
It's grant. It's grant funded.
So it's out of their budget completely.
Right. So they're putting, so the school, again, you know what, another thing, and this personally bothers me, you know what? I'll pay for it. Send my kids there. It's up the block.
Right.
Freaking walk there.
Use it more.
Right, use it more.
Okay,
What,
so
you
this
know?
is a conversation that we should be having in a school board meeting.
No, we should be having it in a joint use meeting.
We could have it in a joint use meeting, but this is a conversation that the board has to be convinced of spending more money on the nature center. We don't have the ability to tell the board how to spend their money. So we have to go to the board.
No, great. So my point is, then, you know what? I want to pay less. If the school feels the value to the students, which is 80-20 for me. I mean, 80-20 for me is nature center should be for the kids. If they think it's useless, maybe we shut down. Maybe we strip mine the entire nature center and put up condominiums.
Hold on, we'll hold that thought for a minute. Hold on, Jeff, please, and then Deborah.
Deborah's like,
Condominium?
All right.
Condos.
We already fought condos up there, and Winston Towers almost came up there many years
Obviously,
ago.
I'm joking.
No, but here's the thing, couple of things. First of all, to Councilman Michael's point, I agree the board should be putting in, but that, we're not gonna solve that problem today, and you're here for the budget today. So two things. One, a thought on grants, and I don't need an answer right now, but, STEAM, which used to be STEM, now is STEAM, is the big thing. And I don't know if there are educational grants that the Nature Center can get for those programs, but there probably are. So I would be happy to help look for that if you haven't. That's number one. Number two, the security cameras, which we're talking about, at least we can tackle one thing here. We're doing with that what we do with everything else. It's piecemeal. We put in a budget, we need at Davis Johnson, we need at Roosevelt Commons, we need at the Nature Center, we need at the we need to have one comprehensive item for security cameras where we're getting it in bulk. We're not, because when you do a piecemeal, we all know that it's more expensive that way. You're being charged by the part, basically, and someone to install there, and a different person to install there. So if we can have one comprehensive security camera system for everything, and I'll be bringing up similar issue because Jimmy did a great job of sharing with me vehicles, and when we get to capital budget, same thing. We look at everything piecemeal. So if we can have an approach where we're looking at security across the borough, I don't know how in the middle of this we do it, but I would like to do that because I think it'll be cheaper. It will solve some of the problems. Have we even put it in yet at Davis Johnson? Yes, we did, right? But we haven't at Roosevelt.
It didn't get installed.
Oh, it's not
This was
installed.
like asked and answered from last year's
Right,
budget.
right.
And yes, it was a bulk order, Jeff. And if the bulk order didn't, like, occur, then we could throw on these cameras.
Right,
But
I think that's how we need
so
to.
I'd have to go out to bid,
Okay.
we're talking over
Okay.
bid threshold.
Yeah.
So we keep asking for the same thing multiple times in multiple different ways, and that doesn't work.
All right.
So
Lauren-
that's my one suggestion
Okay.
for at least tackling one small part of this, getting it done.
If I could find a state contract.
Lauren,
So, first of all, I just want to take 2 seconds to say thank you to Deborah, because Deborah does an outstanding job on our nature center. But we're out of time, so I'd like to go around the room and just approve this request for open space funding for our nature center, please. I'm a yes.
wait, before we do that, just make a summary real quick
Okay.
on that question.
Okay.
So it seems like we have two questions going on. Do we fund it based on the request of 50,000 out of open space, right? Is that what the question is?
Oh, this part,
Yeah.
the operating.
Yeah, the operating, right? Okay.
Operate.
So that's one question for the council, $50,000. The second is this issue of security. There's some bigger questions that we'll talk about with the police chief later today. And if the council chooses to fund it, either we're gonna get some more money out of the school district, or we can take it out of open space in June or July based on the response to this, grant request. Is that an accurate summary of what we're doing?
What was the last part you said?
That the request for the $62,000, they have a grant out there right now.
That's the security.
Right, they're gonna find out about that in June or July, and at that point, the council can make a decision about giving more money to the nature center through open space, which we could do at any point in the
But
year.
the open space wouldn't be, available for.
They can use the $62,000 to buy more seedlings for trees and take the seedling money and spend it on security.
Right.
That's all they need to do.
It's a share.
They just move money around.
Yeah.
Funding it isn't the question, it's
But
whether
you're
you
saying
want.
that's the conversation later, but that conversation might be blunted depending on what we talk about.
Yeah, if they get the money for the grant,
Or,
we're done.
or we talk to
Yeah.
them.
right, if they don't get it,
On our plate.
right, correct. So there's two separate. So then Lauren has a question on the floor.
So I'd like to send Deborah out of here with at least some idea of what she's getting. So if everyone doesn't mind, please weigh in on this. I'm a yes to give the nature center the money out of open space.
Yes.
I think we're broken on this, and we don't, it's just gonna keep going up every year, and
Yes.
fundamentally, it's broken. We need, more grant writing, we need more, donations. This is so we can't keep paying it year over year, someone know.
Yeah.
Well, I think the question that's on the floor is, you said out of open space. I thought this was out of operating.
No, we've
No.
always said it's
No,
open
it's
space.
open.
Last
open
year-
space.
Last year, we
So-
moved it to open space, we took it
Right.
out.
All right,
Last year,
so,
we moved it out. And Deborah has
Okay.
to justify
no, I
what are the
get,
costs
okay.
for this.
So, open space, first of all, we can do it any time.
Yeah.
I know, but she needs to know if she's getting the funding for her own budget.
Right, no, I get that, but there are some open questions that Councilman Michaels raised. I'm for getting money so that they can maintain the property, but I think we do need a longer-term solution. So I'm for money,
Right.
But I am
I'm
for
all
longer
solutions. I'm all for
term
solutions.
solutions, which we don't have right now.
Right.
So that's a yes, Jeff, in terms of the 50,000 funding.
It's a yes in
Okay.
terms of that from open space.
Manu?
I'm for the 50,000 for, from the open space. You know, we have to reevaluate things, but I don't think we should muddle that with, any of the other, discussions at this time. So it's purely, the 50,000, and then we can have all the other discussions in future council meetings.
Yes, I agree with Bennu, yes, and everything he said. But I would say, we do have a council liaison to the Nature Center. You've heard Councilman Michaels, get that
Yeah.
stuff
We
going,
need a meeting.
and, yeah.
Dan?
Yep.
Okay. So 50,000, it will get funded, right? And then June or July, we're gonna revisit the issue of the security based on the results of the grant.
Yes,
And keep searching for grants.
and if there's any sort of a delay, I will let you guys know about that as well, because that typically happens.
And you may wanna raise this, you may wanna raise the issue with the school board about this security issue,
They might.
and maybe we can work out some solution where the school board pays for a third of it,
Why would you, like,
because we're trying to get somewhere.
but it doesn't matter,
With
they,
their
the school board
security
says
funding.
the mayor's, council's a sucker. The mayor's just gonna pay it anyway, so why do I have to do
Doesn't
anything?
matter, I'm writing the check as a resident, no matter who pays, no matter what budget it comes
Maybe
out
we
of.
go to the board and we see.
All right, one at a time here.
How many
All I'm saying,
That's not true
TMS
though, actually.
programming
It
we
doesn't have
have
to be
and the cost of
incremental.
those, and we
I
come back and
understand.
say, we need.
so,
Security funding.
all right, Deborah.
We gotta go, we gotta go, let's go. Thank you very much, thanks.
Good one.
Thank you.
I'll see you
Thanks
up
for
later.
waking up early this day.
I hope to see you all at the end of April
Oh,
at
yes.
the dinner.
I meant to
Yes.
announce that. I can't go, but everyone else should be there in my stead.
Thank you, Deborah.
Okay.
I cannot go.
Thank you,
Everyone
Deborah.
else better be there.
And also on May 7th at the
Trash-a-thon.
Yes.
Your Honor,
By the way, if you guys
Jeff.
have not bought your tickets, please come and bring a friend. Grab another couple.
We have a table.
Thank
Because
you.
my-
Your Honor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you, Mayor.
I hope you enjoyed the final moments of the Nature Center budget discussion.
Yes, and I'm glad I have no ties to, the school board budget.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like,
You and me both.
Coming in at Powerhouse.
All right, so is this under admin?
No, it's under court.
It's on the,
There we go. Okay,
just the nature center.
Jeff, how's it going?
everything's going well, thank you.
The kiddish is just, anyway, sorry.
So I'm Judge Benjamin Choi, and I'm very happy to report that the court is operating very well. We're constantly adjusting to the AOC, the governing body's, the judiciary's guidelines. They just published new guidelines in January, in the beginning of the year, and we're operating in more of a hybrid system now, where we're in person for a portion of the session, and we also do virtual. And it's split between in person more and more. We're doing criminal complaints, domestic violence in person, DWIs in person, and the small traffic offenses, the ordinance offenses, they're now virtual, and the trials could be virtual as well. Operation-wise, in my report, I gave a breakdown of a 3-year look on what the numbers look like. And as you can see, there's a steady increase from 2020 to present, 2022, in the number of tickets that have been issued and disposed of, and the complaints issued and disposed of. Although last year for the complaints, there was a slight decrease as well, too. Total funds turned over to the borough was reported as $75,000. However, if you add November and December, it's actually $94,000. We're increasing. We're not at pre-COVID levels yet, but we're getting there very shortly. Within, I think, and this is only an educated guess, within about 2 years, I suspect we're going to be very close to pre-COVID levels. Personnel-wise, the court administrator, Dawn Kurtel, and our new violations clerk, Alexandra Sella, have been doing a wonderful job. I think we have a great team on board now. Mark Fierro, the prosecutor, and Jordan Ulius, the public defender, are also doing a very, very good job, a wonderful job. Budget-wise, overall, there's not much of a change in the budget. There's actually a slight decrease from the numbers.
I like this guy.
I saw the smile come my way.
What do you mean? Actually, no joke, I gotta give you, seriously, this is how you should be doing things. We don't do it this way, so you should teach the whole space. We're under budget every single year.
Yes.
We gain more revenue than the growth of revenue is higher than the growth of expenses.
Yes.
I'm thinking about hiring you for my day job. Sincerely.
Just
Thank you.
a real quick question, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I know what tickets are. When you say complaints, that we've had this drop, what constitutes a complaint issue?
Complaints are the summonses that involve criminal complaints, domestic violence, and ordinances. The tickets are the motor vehicle offenses.
Okay, so when you say ordinance, that's code enforcement?
Code enforcement as well.
Okay, so I'm glad to see that domestic violence may be down, but I'm not happy to see just that code enforcement is down when we know we have problems with enforcement. But I don't want to create more work for you, but
Some of the code enforcement's actually may be in the tickets portion as well too, because it could be an SC summons, which is a short course.
Do we set the price of tickets?
Yes.
Mhm.
That's something that we do as a town?
No, the state sets the state tickets.
Okay.
The municipality sets the fines and penalties with regard to ordinance violations.
Okay. So one specific thing, not for, I mean, I would love your input, because I think it would be very helpful. If this council remembers, Jimmy did some amazing work for us to understand,
Yes, we do.
fees. That was one of the things that I brought up on. I'm a big fan of like value-added taxes, in the sense, I don't like getting taxed just for being alive. I'm happy to get taxed if I want to buy a new yacht. I think, I can't afford a yacht. My wife won't let me buy it.
Natalia can, but you.
Natalia can, I can't. I very much would recommend a broader look at implementing, sincerely, this is how little I am good at being a politician. I would actually look to raise our fees, the value-added fees. You do something wrong, I want the fees to be higher, and if you do something right, your overall taxes would actually be lower. I think that's something that we should look at doing, because that would actually drive revenues higher, which means our taxes that we give our residents would be lower. So if we can do that, that'd be great. Jimmy.
Yeah, Benu, then Lauren, but after this question is answered. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I mean, the fee analysis, which, Wendy is redlining with, after we've met with the various departments, I mean, it covers more of, I don't know if it covers this portion of the.
Let's just open the aperture
Yeah.
and let's look at it.
Okay.
Because again, from what I saw, is fees are expected. Again, guys, let's all make sure we're really reading the budget. We're very good at nickel and diming things that we don't understand, but revenue's down, right? This budget fees are down. That means that taxes have to go up. This is a way to offset taxes. Revenue generating. So if these things are not in that thing that Wendy's redlining, let's open up with the judge's recommendations. He knows best, but that's what I would do.
I would provide an input,
Yeah.
but I just want to emphasize one point. The judge's role is not as a revenue source.
Agreed, absolutely.
And strictly
Right.
prohibitive. There can be deterrent issues
But-
with the fines and penalties, but I would provide that input.
Right,
But
absolutely.
strictly on a budgetary issue.
No, absolutely. And the goal is not, we had the same conversation last week with the trees. We care very much about the trees in town. It's about 50 cents if you you strip mine your entire house. Of course, it's not a detriment.
Right.
I buy a house, it's $1,000, and I can do whatever I want. Clearly, us putting rules in place is valueless if they're not,
So on this
connected.
question, Jimmy, like, how do we determine legally, how are fees determined? Is that an ordinance issue at the municipal level?
Yeah, I was gonna, one, clarify just to see if you wanted both, like, local ordinances and traffic fines?
No.
No, the judge says that state or state,
Okay,
local
so
is local.
I could work with Wendy
It's
on
literally
that.
like code enforcement, vacant property.
Yeah,
the
if they're all
small things that
established.
we
Let's find out
Yeah, if
where
there's
we
some
are.
ordinance, I can work with
What?
Wendy on that.
What?
Yeah, roofing stuff.
Yeah,
Bob,
okay.
and they just haven't moved up in time.
Right.
A parking ticket,
I've seen,
getting a pool,
ordinances
they haven't moved in time.
Contractors working on weekends when they shouldn't be.
Correct.
Or maximum, and
It's a win-win.
First
Mhm.
offense, second offense, and a third offense.
We have some of them now with our, health inspector. We have that, Jimmy, with
That's
Ruby
correct.
Clara.
Jeff, you said other municipalities?
Yes,
Do you
good,
have them
good, nice.
use the
Thank you.
premises?
Sorry.
And I will get
I
with,
know.
Ms. Jones about that.
I think Benu, go ahead,
Sorry,
Jimmy,
just one
finish,
last
then
question,
Benu
I
is next.
apologize. For that kind of schedule, is that something, and we can talk offline, is that
Ruby
something you
Clara owns
prefer
the health
more
inspection. She
just
has the
arrange, or?
vacant property.
For some
Self every
offenses,
time.
I don't think I have a preference.
Just have
The
a general
discretion of the
parameters.
court is something I would prefer generally.
Understood.
But if there's an area of focus or concern by the municipality, where it wants to set a minimum or a first offense fine range, or second, third, subsequent, then that is the prerogative of the municipality.
Thank you.
Vanu, you had a question?
Writing about softball, please excuse me for 1 second.
Thanks for being here, and, so just, to understand, so the tickets issued, again, it's mainly, traffic, that's moving violations, that's, parking tickets, all that. What does, the tickets disposed mean? Is that,
Disposed.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, what does that constitute? Is that, forgiveness, meaning, what constitutes that?
The ticket is rated,
Mhm.
and the ticket is heard by the court, and there's a resolution or a disposition on the ticket, which means either guilty plea or a dismissal,
Okay, so now.
or a trial and finding of
So do you have a breakdown of how that works out? The only reason I'm saying, you've got a 57% increase in, the tickets, 68%,
The judge is being more efficient. He's actually getting through.
I think that's great, that's not my point. You're talking about total funds being turned over, up to October, it's a 2% increase, not a 68% increase, or not a 57% increase. How, do we have some kind of a breakdown of how the disposal of the tickets is?
We could go through and create such a document. I don't think we have a breakdown on, that
What are we gonna do
level.
with
Well, the question is,
Right.
it's not a question of work for the judge. It's a question of, why, if we're doing, he's talking about an increase in the number of tickets issued. If that doesn't result in an increase, in a significant increase in the amount that we're getting, then we're only talking about a 2% increase. That's great, but we're also, hitting our residents more often with,
Lower fine.
with just, if it doesn't result in a similar increase in the amount, is my point.
Councilman, I don't think there can be a similar increase in revenues versus the tickets being disposed, because there's such a range in,
Sure.
fines, that can be, shown.
Mhm.
And, the police department so the police department is the entity that issues the summonses, the tickets, right?
Mhm.
Or the criminal complaints, and I dispose of them. However, if they choose to focus on cell phone violations, the maximum for first offense, or the minimum for first offense is $200, and most of them tend to be first offenses. So that takes away from, I guess, maybe potentially their enforcement efforts in other areas of summonses.
Mhm.
So if I dispose more cell phone violations than other summonses, then that range is limited to $200 compared to other summonses.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm just saying that, we're talking about, an increase in these numbers, and I don't know that is, it's nice to see, as far as the court's concerned, the court is being very efficient in terms of disposing of, the different, cases that are coming up. But ultimately, I'm just saying, the amount of revenue coming in is different, from.
And I'll add this comment as well too, which is the enforcement mechanisms available to the court to impose fines and enforce the collection of fines are very, very limited now because of COVID.
Right. Is that changing? Is that gonna?
It hasn't changed yet.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking to myself.
Not most, a lot of fines that are imposed are put on payment plans.
Right.
And if someone chooses not to pay, notices are going out. However,
No, they're,
in the past, had the ability to,
No, that's,
you had the ability to suspend licenses. You had the ability to issue warrants. You don't have those abilities anymore.
okay.
So it is very difficult to enforce payment plans.
Dawn's on the phone. Lauren first, and then Dawn has a question.
Oh, she's on the phone.
She's on the phone. So,
That's my,
do you pass in the question? Okay.
Let her go, and
Okay.
then let her get off the phone, and we'll talk about staffing.
Open public meeting.
Oh, open phone meeting, fine, I'll talk about staffing.
Dawn?
Then I'll
Oh,
go.
then go
I'll
ahead.
if you
Okay.
don't mind. Your Honor, I would like to talk about the staffing in your office. Very long-term court admin, and now we have a new violations clerk. Do you want to increase any of the education opportunities for either of those positions? Do you want to increase any of the hours on any of those positions? And do we have, I guess, I don't want any interruption in court, like if one of them are out, are you covered?
Yes, all of these, the answers to all of those questions is yes, I'd like that opportunity.
Great.
I'm speaking with the violations clerk right now about, educational opportunities as well.
Right.
I'm speaking with the, violations clerk about, her mid-year, evaluation, for potentially more hours as well too. And
Great.
that's something I will speak with the administrator, court administrator as well.
Should we be budgeting for additional hours in this budget? Are you, I mean, maybe. you
Sorry if
don't
I could
think
speak to
Yeah.
that, because I believe it's, what do we budget, like 25?
Yeah, she's very
25.
low. She's
20.
20 hours here.
I think she's working 25, so we have to be mindful, because anytime if we increase it anymore, it would be considered full-time status.
Well, is that what is that what that position wants? Is she interested in? No, we're not. We're not.
No, we're not sure.
She's a part-time wife, and probably should get more education and more hours if she wants.
If that's an approach that the council would like to go, I would suggest maybe another person for additional hours, but if you want to increase those hours, it would just become a full-time status.
My question is, what do you need? What do you need to cover what you need?
I mean,
Yeah.
Why?
So go ahead. So questions being asked of staffing levels,
yeah,
Your Honor.
I would have to speak with, the court administrator about that, and I would defer actually, to her on that specific issue. I did discuss with Mr. Holmesy about, the hours requirement, of when it turns into full-time, as well too, with that limitation. The violations clerk, and I are continuing to speak, but we have not, gone to the level of whether this should be a full-time or a part-time position.
But you do want more educational classes. I'm all for that, like if she can get trained and all
Is that a
stuff.
question?
She asked for it,
Yeah.
so if you're asking me whether she should get it, if it's available, definitely, yes.
Is that something that's in our budget now?
It's in here, right?
I don't think it's in there.
That's what I'm asking, I don't see it.
Not in there.
And we have it for,
And
Yeah, I have a question. Can any of these educational requirements be met, like through webinars, maybe free to the court?
so we'll explore that. She did ask whether those are available, and of course, we will explore that. That's a conversation that just came up, and I'm
Good.
surprised that, I guess, not so surprised, but, yeah, it just came up. Yeah.
Dawn, did you have a question?
No, I wanted to talk about, Councilman Menon was asking about the revenue. The judiciary has not allowed us to send out any delinquent time payment notices. So and that's all because of the legislature. The legislature passed something so that we can't do that. We can't suspend licenses. So I think the more and more people find out that they don't have to pay their ticket, the revenue will keep going down.
Thank you,
So if
Dawn, I
any of you
appreciate.
have friends in Trenton, maybe you should talk to them.
Right, I appreciate the response, Dawn. I mean, just an update. So from the judge's numbers, including November and December, to 94,000, it's not a 2% increase, it would be a 25% increase, is what I see.
And in
It would,
regards to education, a lot of the classes that,
I don't.
Okay. All right, just for the record, it's 10:06, and we had an internet interruption, so when we had that, we stopped the meeting, and now we're about to restart the meeting at 10:06. And I think, Dawn, are you here? Are you back? No?
Oh.
Okay. So did anyone have any final questions for His Honor?
Oh, thank you so much, Judge.
Yeah.
I just want to sum up, if I may.
Sure, of course.
Pending any questions, there have been increased items, line items as well, too, translators, interpreters. I've asked for an increase in the public defender, rate. He was receiving $100 per case, and I'm asking for $200 per case. And that fee can be, assessed against the defendant who's applying, for the public defender, based upon their ability to pay. There's an actual application that they fill out. And because we're doing hybrid, there are increased, probably costs associated with the requirement that security be there, police officers be there. That's not part of our budget, but that's probably gonna be some consideration for the police. And internet access. We've been borrowing from, Mr. Holmes's, Wi-Fi, hotspot. I've been using my personal hotspot, and the more we do hybrid, we're gonna have internet challenges with, the public defender here, the prosecutor here, the interpreters here. They're gonna need to be here and sometimes logged in on their Zoom as well, too. We have a little bit of buffer in our communication budget, if we need to, and I will speak with, Borough Administrator more about the solutions involved, but, that's something that's coming down the pipe. And although this is not part of our budget, just want to report that I've heard that, and I've been told that the carpeting and, the furniture in the court's offices will be replaced and dealt with, and, overall, I'm very happy to report that we're running smoothly, efficiently. It's my honor to continue to serve, the residents of Tenafly, and the court users, and, we'll carry our mission and our mandate to service everybody. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff has one final question. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, Your Honor, first of all, thank you. I mean, I know a few years ago when we first met in the hiring process, I'm thrilled with the decision that this council made to bring you on. But my question, do you foresee any time in the future Jersey going back to mandatory in-person, no Zoom, or do you think the Zoom is a permanent change?
It's a permanent change.
Permanent change.
I believe that to be the case. Most of court users in the state of New Jersey will have gone through the municipal court system. They do not want the long lines, the long waits, anymore. They see the efficiency, in some of the Zoom, applications. The defense bar loves the Zoom because they could be in their office, in different courts at the same time. So a portion of the Zoom, will be here to stay.
So do you think, just thinking it through, having done this in New York, do you think that the prosecutor is still able to dispose of as many cases before it gets to using this method? Because I remember people used to line up, meet with the prosecutor, here's the deal, and they took it. Is that as easy to do on Zoom?
I think it's a little bit more difficult, for the prosecutor, just because the level of communication with the defendant and defense attorney is, decreased through Zoom. The level of information available to the prosecutor, at that point in time when the communications are occurring is decreased. So for the prosecutor and even for the court, there is a lot more work to be done in the background, than at the time of the meeting. There's an immense amount of work, for the court, that I can see. Ms. Dawn and, Alexander is doing a great job. But, these are challenges that will continue to exist.
Thank you.
Jimmy, yes.
Sorry, just to point out, and please correct me if I'm wrong, just so, the benefit of everyone, for the translation services, that's, retained through a third-party company that most towns use, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Your Honor, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your support.
And your patience. Thank you.
All right, I gotta make a quick.
Go ahead, make your quick call.
Figure out.
God bless.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So it's not on the line. Oh, they don't see the.
Are they on the line? Yeah.
They're right back. They're right back. Oh, T-Bat?
T-Bat.
No, they're actually outside.
You looking for him?
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
they're
Thank you,
coming
Judge.
in. I thought you were asking if anybody's on
Been around forever. You're enjoying my high cheek.
Has anyone heard from JP?
JP's, I'll go grab him.
No, but if it's like this
Right.
box, you don't order
Yeah, I
it.
can't figure out how to use Team
Oh,
Snap.
word to me.
Can't use
Oh.
what?
I didn't even know.
Can't use what?
Team Snap.
Oh.
Like these are.
What is that box, Dan?
It's all high chews that I'm
What is it?
replacing it.
Would you like some candy?
Candy.
I bought in,
Oh, that's nice of you.
You should not be.
okay.
You're killing me.
That's candy. Wow. What's the height shoe?
It was sent by the local dentist.
Soybeans, huh?
Yeah. We have.
Hey, JP, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Cozy.
How's it going, everyone?
Hey, JP, hi, guys. All right, sorry, I'm on.
All right, how you doing?
Okay. Why can't I get a?
All right, JP, take it away. What's going on?
All right, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Thanks so much for your time today. I know this is a busy time for everyone. So I reviewed the numbers that Susan prepared for us, and I think it's a good number, except for one item, and I'll explain why. So last time we were focused mainly on the final number. So for us right now, as you know, we've had a lot of issues with our 4-2 ambulance. With that, it spends the majority of the year out of service. Specifically, what we do is we alternate each month with different duty rigs. So in order to spread out like mileage and just use other vehicles, odd month 4-1 is taken as the primary rig, and then 4-2 is the backup, and then for even months, 4-2 is the primary and 4-1 is the backup. That being said, obviously, if we have like events or multiple calls at once, rigs get used throughout both months. But typically not common for one rig to take the majority of the calls throughout the entire year, which was the case last year, for 4-1. So with that, it sustained, a decent amount of damage or repairs needed. So I don't have the official written quote, but I was going to, once I have that, provide it with Susan so that we could adjust some numbers, hopefully. The one thing that I am asking for is an increase in motor vehicle parts and accessories. They're quoting me is about $7,000 for just the parts alone for 4-1, with all of the damage that it sustained last year and just wear and tear on the vehicle. Again, I can provide that quote for you. That's just the parts, not like any service or anything like that. I will say what we have been doing is we've been working very well with DPW to ensure that our costs are much cheaper. So we only go to Brookside or like places that we need to for like damages like that where it's out of their scope. But like all oil changes, all like regular maintenance has been with in-house, that we're only paying for like a battery or like whatever that might be. Yeah.
And also, if I could just add in, also the big help, and also with some help with Dan was through the shared service agreement with the county for some maintenance.
Exactly.
Higher level maintenance.
Yeah, it was 4,000, which is cheaper. Yeah, it was, and all the work that was done with the dealership was very cheap. I mean, obviously it wasn't actually fixing the issue, but you know, it was cheaper compared to. And actually we had 4-2 again, we experienced issues. We took it back there. They fixed it within a day, and it was like $50. It was like no, yeah, it was like nothing. So they seem to have 4-2 is a very like specific type of ambulance, and it's discontinued now. So like even the dealership was having issues trying to figure out like how to fix it. So it's international. Yeah. Type of.
That was my question.
Yeah.
So,
But
JP,
yeah.
I'm gonna be tough about this one.
Yeah.
So we have $300,000 in the budget for replacement of 42. So, I was gonna ask you about ongoing maintenance costs, because like if they cost $10,000 for the next 3-4 years, it's still significantly less than $300,000.
Yeah.
So talk to me about why you think not just ongoing maintenance, but because it's discontinued and they don't make the parts, like, break it down for me a little.
No, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing right now for us is that we look to, and, you know, traditionally it's about 10 years we have a service life for our ambulance historically.
Yes.
Obviously, there's plenty of towns that go beyond that, but with
4.2 is actually a demo rig. So basically what it would be like a show rig where it was taken around to like show people, and that was got like a cheaper cost because of that. That has been, again, since like discontinued, they don't make that type of model, ambulance. And the reason why we're thinking of a new ambulance instead of maintenance is because we've been doing that for a couple of years, and then we faced the issue of like not being able to actually have it in service, and to a point where typically like maintenance for us is looking at like oil change, with that rig, it also has an air suspension, so there's like issues with that we've had to do in the past. The issues that were coming this past year was it was in drive, it was responding to a call, and it completely shut down. So this was something that I've never seen before. I've been on 3 different departments. I've never seen that before, and it was like the worst was it was going up River Edge and turning onto Knickerbocker and was in that intersection. And it was like completely like lights, sirens, everything cut off.
I heard about this.
Yeah, so I mean it's something where, and again, unfortunately, with the world that we live in right now, post-COVID, it will take us probably about 2 years to get a new ambulance. Like, let's say we give them the funds and we start the process of putting it together. The parts, assembling an ambulance is going to take 2 years. So I see what you're saying, where you're like, I might not want to spend $300,000 this year, but we're not going to get this until 2 years, which I don't know if that ambulance will even last that long. But it's like we should start that process now as opposed to wait for it to be dead, have one ambulance. What I've seen some other towns actually do is like they'll buy like 30-year-old ambulances to hold them over for that 2-year period where they don't have a thing, and then you're spending even more money than you want to. So I feel like while we possibly have 4.2 still working, let's try to keep it going until we get a new ambulance.
Jeff, go ahead.
So 2 things.
Yeah.
One, after the initial, it died, unfortunately, no patient did in the intersection. It happened again, didn't it, where there was a problem? So it's been more than once. So I just want to confirm that's been more than once. Number 2.
And it wasn't like a user error that happened across different circumstances with different drivers. We tested all that. It was, it would even be like, let's say you pulled it out of the bay and you let it run for 5 minutes, you go inside the building, go to the bathroom, you come back and it's dead. And then it would take like an hour just to get it back jump-started back into the building.
Okay, so that's number 1, and with you responding to, on average, two or more calls a day, every 365 days a year, that's a lot of use. Would you be able to sell 4.2 and use some of that money possibly to offset the purchase of a new rig?
Completely. And I think, again, to Lauren's point about wanting to wait versus not wanting to wait, I think right now, while 4.2 is in like quote unquote like better condition, like running condition, it's better to sell it now, or well, once we get the new rig with it working, rather than waiting for it to be dead and just selling some parts. We would get more money from it.
Adam, then Lauren.
Just super quick, if we could just, Jimmy, maybe help us. We spoke about this before, I'm just not sure we're taking action on it. I'm super impressed with our new congressman.
Exactly.
And I think I asked this before, I don't know how, again, I'm happy to just do it myself. What are the 3 to 5 biggest grants that we're looking for? And I would love the mayor to speak to our congressman's team, and specifically, literally, I would, if I was doing it, how are you gonna help me get these 5 things and work with them on it? I definitely believe we are in the bottom 50% in taking action on getting our these grants.
Okay, so Jimmy, go ahead, Jimmy.
Because $300,000 ambulance is a great one. We can
speak to
first responders, this is like the easiest one.
To make, so we submitted, so thanks to the council and Millennium's portal, there was an opportunity through FEMA, I think either late in 22 or early in 23 that was available that the council had authorized us to pursue, and that's submitted, so, and hopefully.
Let me be even more specific. We have a new congressman. We have a very energetic congressman.
Yep.
There's a massive difference between looking at grants, applying for grants, getting Millennium to do grants, and let me be very specific. The mayor speaks with the congressman's team on 5 specific grants, maybe make it 7, and then find out what are the 3 of those 7 the congressman's office could help shepherd. Again, I'm not looking for another list of grants we could possibly get.
Right.
How are you gonna help me shepherd these 3 of 7 grants? I think is a massive difference than Millennium or other grant people submitting paperwork.
Yeah, but I did want to add in the same thing.
And I
that-
appreciate it.
Yeah, I did want to add in that one point that we did, that there is a grant, and we're hopefully, we'll hear back probably next month or so, so hopefully we get
Yeah,
some
I was-
positive news.
I was gonna say, I completely agree with you, because this, obviously, they don't promise the money when we're making this, but it was also kind of, I don't know, Jimmy, if you felt this way, but it was kind of like a, we'll see, and not the most optimistic outlook on the FEMA grant, because they were saying, like, to be completely honest, we usually look to replace rigs that are much older than the one that.
Legitimately want the congressman to shepherd, to literally bring it to the floor himself.
Yeah.
3, just pick 3.
Yeah, we did a pretty good, like, narrative and everything.
So on that note, can I ask a logistical question to Susan? We want an ambulance by grant. I mean, we really need not have $300,000 in the budget. We want it by grant. Do we keep the money in as a match? Do we keep the money as a placeholder? Do we not spend the money yet until we know about grant opportunities? We need a timing issue here.
Well, you can't buy the ambulance unless it's appropriated the money, but
Well,
Susan
that's
answered
my
the
question,
question.
that's my question.
Susan can answer this.
So I believe you're supposed to get
I
the
don't wanna
answer
purchase, I wanna
relatively
grant.
soon for the current
I
grant.
believe it's
Couple months.
April.
Yeah,
But that's out of our budget.
But it's
But a lot are
April,
also
so-
matching.
So we're not going to introduce the next, I think it'll be around April 18th that I could do another ordinance, because we're gonna be introducing our budget hopefully on April 18th. You could also change something before we adopt on May 23rd. But to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
if he gets the answer prior, then it comes out. If we get a grant later and we didn't order anything, we cancel the project. So you have to put it in if we don't know.
But I
But
don't
you can
think,
cancel it if something happens.
but I don't think,
Or you have to fund it if it's, you have to,
FEMA's usually
you
funded.
have to fund, yeah, the grant, yes, it'll have to be funded.
funded on the outset, no.
And then,
Yeah.
right,
Reimbursed.
reimburse.
Yeah, that's what will happen, forget what I just said.
One at a
But
time.
then you have to appropriate like the mayor said, and then we're gonna, I'm a little sleepy probably. So, then you have to, yeah.
But if we get a different grant, let's say,
Let's say through Godhammer's office.
yeah,
Yeah.
through this, then we could always, take it out.
We could
Well,
not
if
spend
it-
a line item.
Most grants are upfront anyway, so.
What do you mean, take it out?
Yeah.
Take what
No,
out?
no, we're appropriating it, we have to appropriate it.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah,
So I think if,
Just
on
not
these
spend
circumstances, appropriate it,
right.
no matter what,
Sure,
and then when we get the
okay.
money, it pays down the debt.
I
Exactly.
mean, I really want
Yeah.
grant on this. I think it's an appropriate project for, so understand we're not gonna be ordering immediately until we have other answers.
Oh, of course, listen,
Okay.
I don't want the borough to have to spend any unnecessary funds, especially if someone else will pay for it, right? I even there was another grant opportunity, for like medical equipment. So I, reached out to Jimmy about getting something through that instead of like through our budget. So that's something that we are more than willing to help pursue. I know some people on the council, like a big thing is like, environmental, things and maybe doing like renewable energy, things like that. So in terms of like new vehicles, I would love for our fleet to be like electric. So that's where we can look into grants for that as well, and that way it's not coming out of, taxpayer money.
Do some research.
Are there electric ambulances out there?
I haven't seen it yet.
I think so.
I don't
They're
think
working
so,
on
but
fire trucks.
at least for our first responder vehicles, like, it would be an easy thing to do. It would be less maintenance costs.
Is
It
there a
would
lot of
be,
stuff in the back of those trucks?
no,
Hmm.
it's basically
It can't
just
be
medical
heavy.
equipment,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
It
like,
can't be heavy.
I I have a friend who works in construction, he bought a pickup for lightning.
Oh, yeah, that's what I have now, yeah.
There's a lot of
Guy
gas.
with all the weight in, so,
Well, yeah, so I think the only thing that we would be
Maybe too
concerned
many.
with is our pickup truck to tow, like the ASAP and the whatever,
Yeah,
but the other ones are fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So something we can look into.
Lauren, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask a different question. How, I know we're finalizing our ordinance. Are we in a position to get a medical director for the EpiPen and the other kinds of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, our department is more than ready. We've been ready for a while. I believe per the ordinance, it would be, Mayor Zimmer's appointment approved by the council, so
So
whenever
is the
that-
ordinance done now?
No.
We still have another reading, or?
Yes, we haven't even introduced it.
As soon as we have these readings and we're done, we can do it.
I mean,
Tuesday.
4 years later?
Yeah.
Tuesday, right?
Capital, then April 18th.
We had to
Okay.
discuss
the
the point
point
system,
was-
so
yeah.
that's
Okay.
when, that's when.
Good.
That was
So JP, we're almost there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Come on.
We're about a month away, which in government time is light speed.
I know, that's what I'm trying to remind myself.
So talk to me, why don't you, just for this council, break down what is now going to be the point system, incentive system, and everything else?
Sure, yeah, so that's one
We
question I
do need
did.
to all
All
understand.
right, let JP have the floor here.
Yeah, I did have,
Wait, Susan, I want you to hear this.
a couple questions about
Yeah.
that too, because, so, in previous years, based on our ordinance, we had, 2 lines where the money was coming out of. It was the incentive program, and then it was also what is known as, and we always get confused with this, let me just look at it, the uniform allowance.
Uniform,
Yeah, uniform
Yeah.
allowance,
allowance.
and the,
clothing allowance.
and the so it's, yeah, the uniform allowance and the incentive. With the new ordinance, we don't have the uniform allowance anymore in that, it's just a flat incentive, so I think, Susan, we could probably talk about just combining those line items, because it doesn't make sense to have the separate ones. In the, yeah, in the past, it was that people were getting reimbursed for any clothing or stuff that would have been damaged on a call, and then also getting an incentive bonus, but it doesn't really, they just get both, so it doesn't really, we can put them together. What we're looking to do is, again, this ordinance was put in effect in 2006. The work that TVAC does is very different than what we do now in 2023 already. So this point system basically makes it so that people can earn more points, and the points are disproportioned differently. It seems as though we have a lot of members that do the bare minimum or less than that, and they would just be getting full stipend, because essentially, just to put it into perspective for you all, the old system was at 100 points. Something like going to a monthly meeting, you got 5 points for it. So just simple math, 12 times 5 is 60. Just for before you even step on an ambulance, you've now made 60% of the stipend. That was like a huge problem where you had people that were taking like almost every ambulance call, reaching like almost 1,000 points, and then they would be getting the same stipend as someone going to all 12 meetings. So this thing basically makes it out of 500 points, and we make sure that if you have to be doing work throughout the year, so it breaks it up point-wise quarterly, so that members are doing work all throughout the year, instead of just accumulating all their points and then leaving, or not doing something for the rest of the month. But yeah, this basically breaks it down. It allows for the extra events we do, the extra call volume, and just better proportions out the numbers, so it's not that people are getting 900, 1,000 points, and the other people are getting like 101. And making the same call.
Are we doing okay? Is there, on volunteers?
Yeah, I have that.
Do we have,
Yeah.
like, where, if, over the past 5 years, I'm making up that number, are we in the right place, and are we up, down, sideways?
So,
We're low.
yeah, so given what's going on in the world, I feel like we're in a good place, but overall we're low. For that reason.
How many people do we have today?
So right now we have 48 members. 48. Yeah, so with this, what we did is we started a new program called, similar to like the junior fire department program, we made like a junior member program. So there is a course, it's called an emergency medical responder course. It basically puts people through a condensed EMT course. It's 48 hours, they learn all the material EMTs would, it's just obviously in a more condensed setting. And what we allow members to do is that before they become EMTs, we have them go through like an EMR course. That way they can ride the ambulance, see if they're interested before sending them off to school for 6 months, and then pay for it, not them coming back and then not wanting to participate or anything like that. There also is technically a no age requirement for EMR. I mean, we don't let anyone on unless they're appropriate age, but it allows people that if they're waiting for the EMT course, they can become that if there's not a course available.
So we have 48, and is that, and you're saying that's roughly enough where we are? Of course, we'd always want some more, but.
Yeah, I would always want some more. I think right now, it's always looking at these EMRs, they're not people that could be in the back along with the patient. So we're always looking for drivers. We're looking for people that are EMTs that would be able to do that work. But again, the hope and thought is that with this program, after a couple of years, it will get better. But that way, people can see, you know, they can get experience for a year, then go to EMT school. We have like good members in standing that can kind of go through the ranks quicker because they know how everything's working.
of
Yeah,
course.
and like bring them up, and I think really we're trying to do is get people like invested in the department, right? So starting them out young, teaching them the ways and you know, everything, and really getting them a sense of being on the department for like 3 years, as opposed to sometimes we have like seniors come in, and by the time that they're trained, it's like, bye, I'm going off to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I follow up on this? I love the junior member, and I think, you know, we should definitely make sure we're in PHS and getting into joint use, but I'm gonna go the opposite direction. We have this amazing Board of Health that sits, it's all doctors and nurses and medical professionals. They're incredible, Julie sits on it. And I wanna find a way to actually attract, we have so many doctors and nurses in our town, to actually attract the more established doctors and nurses to volunteer their time. So what I'd like to try to find is some incentive so that instead of having to be this full-time TVAC member, you know, we can get some volunteers of like, here's a perfect example, we have an ER doc, you know, they're on shifts. Maybe every now and then they can do TVAC, but they can't do it the whole year, and they're not really looking for points, but they will volunteer their time given their expertise. I want to attract that. I want to attract
Totally.
so many seasoned doctors and nurses here.
Yeah.
So how can we create a program, and I'm going to task you with this as the director, how can we create a program that is a more part-time or an outreach, thank you, Dan,
Yeah.
an
No,
outreach to that community here?
I love that, and we're always looking for older members too, because it's just like,
Has gravitas,
yeah,
has
yeah,
experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
Usually that's a more difficult demographic to get
course.
into.
Of course.
Just real quick, so with, you know, high schools, what we have actually developed with the high school is we have what's called the THS EMS club.
Right.
So that way, our members run that club, and they can assist people in becoming EMTs and learn more about, they do like CPR classes, they help blood drives and stuff. On that other end, so going back to the ordinance, we actually created a way in which, so again, the ordinance, the fine balance that we've tuned over the past couple of years of ensuring that everyone is doing equal amount of work, but also understanding that not everyone can do what's tasked. So essentially, in the past, we've had like this like section for college members to do like 50 hours a year as per the officer's discretion, and they would get points. We've now eliminated the college part of that, so it's now just a member. So there are different member categories. So we have members that are active in the sense that they have a duty night, they have to do like, you know, this amount. But then we also have others who, let's say, you know, we have plenty of people who like live in the city. I know all of you like familiar with like Justin Evron. He currently moved 3 hours away. He's still an active member because he comes home every other and serves on weekends. And there's ways that we are able to do that with our members. So again, I think that would be something where doctors and nurses, where if you have families, if you have work and you don't want to serve every week, you could be meeting that 50-hour quarter requirement.
But I still think that 50 might be high
It
for
could be,
professionals
totally.
that have, you know, their day job.
Totally, and that's why we
so maybe
have.
even like 20, even like
Yeah.
20 hours a year, make sure, you know, these are people who
Yeah.
every year get certified in CPR
Yeah.
and EMT.
Yeah.
And like essentially, you know, want to give back. I hear from a lot of residents, how can I give back? How can I volunteer my time? I
Totally,
mean, this is something I feel like we should tap into.
totally. I like that a lot.
It's
Okay.
maybe you
I don't know.
creating this program.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah.
It's a question for the doctors.
Question for the doctors.
Yeah.
Who else has questions for JP?
We want to talk about the incentive money, because there's a difference between requested and recommended.
What's the requested, what's the recommended? And why is there a difference?
I'm giving that to
So-
Susan and Jimmy, and JP.
So, yeah, so again, I'm totally okay with all the numbers that Susan requested or,
Recommended?
Recommended, yes, thank you. The only one that's different for me would be, again, that motor vehicle parts and accessories. I would want to bump
Okay.
that. Because again, if we're,
How much is it at now?
it's at 2,000, and
How much do you think it should be?
I think it should be 8,500.
Why did you knock it down, Susan?
No, I didn't knock that
No,
one
it-
down. What I knocked down was the incentives, because
Yeah.
JP and I spoke about it, and they were requesting 123, but based on the new
I'm looking at-
ordinance, I knocked it back down
So
to
let me
100.
ask you about the repairs for a second. if the budget's at 2,000 and he needs 4,000 of repairs, we're spending 4,000 for repairs, right?
I think you should up it.
So
I
if it
did.
does,
Yeah, that's
does
fine.
everyone agree to up it to the 8,000 as
That's
JP's requested?
Especially
And if we don't spend it, it just goes into surplus.
Yeah, exactly.
Or another
But-
line item if they see that.
Right.
Yeah, to answer your question, Mayor, about the difference between the requested and the recommended, is I think in the past, it's kind of just been like, oh, every year let's up this line. I actually did the math, and with this money that Susan recommended, it's completely consistent with, given the amount of members that would be eligible for stipend versus, what we've been getting. So,
Good.
So I just want to
Go
add
ahead,
one
Susan.
thing. We're gonna combine on page 7, we're taking out the uniform allowance of the 37,000, and we're gonna add it to the incentive line and make the number there 137. It's not adding to the budget, it's just one
Should
number.
it- And does that account for whatever the stipends are gonna be?
Yes,
yeah,
so, because it's too confusing,
yeah,
and then,
that's what,
yeah, and then,
Years of this.
and then, oh, thanks, and then the uniforms are on page 6 for the clothing.
yeah.
Clothing
So the
is the
15,000,
reimbursement
yes.
of
Can we-
days that she messes up her pants.
Right,
Reimbursement.
right, so we're, this way it's not so confusing going forward.
Can we
Yeah.
talk about, capital maintenance and repairs?
Ken Gage,
A lot of this
Group
has
Life
been
Prevention.
out.
Yeah, sure, yeah, that's, Susan and I spoke about, it. We should definitely.
That's okay, I get it, I'm definitely gonna say.
Sorry.
No, no, it's okay.
I just wanted you
All
to
right.
be aware that it got taken.
Yeah.
All right.
So, it's, basically when you ask for an ambulance and pagers and both can't be cut, I know it has to come from somewhere else, and I understand you guys have a tough budget.
But,
Um,
let me ask you,
yeah.
some of this kitchen and
We're not
repair
adding, yeah, you're
and
gonna do this.
updating, like IKEA or DIY or any of that?
well, so, I mean, that's something where like paint,
Paint the
Yeah,
inside,
paint and stuff like that, we definitely could. I
like
think
we can
just,
still paint for you.
yeah, I'm just not sure of like, what process we would have to go through, like, to get approval since it's like your building.
We have to get the DPW paint.
The paint,
The paint.
painting's easy, didn't the
Yeah.
painting stay in the budget? The kitchen got taken out of the
Yeah,
budget.
that's fine.
Kitchen that came out,
Yep.
but,
We'll be able to figure out the painting without a problem.
Okay,
All right.
you could pull up old carpet, just like that,
yeah,
like,
In the bathroom,
Okay.
in the bathroom.
yeah, the bathroom's big.
Yeah.
but I thought the bathroom, I have to say, the bathroom is one of those things that we were gonna make, not only handicap accessible, but actually useful for the crew, because they do come back, and they are covered in who knows what, and germs, and so they do use the bathrooms and showers in this
Understood.
facility. I just wanna make that
But
very clear.
we chopped a lot out of the capital
Yes,
that
we
was,
did,
right?
but let's
Right.
keep that,
Yeah, I mean, I think,
somewhere later.
I think that.
Later, maybe next
Yeah,
year.
yeah, I think that goes back, and again, that's a conversation for next year, but it's, I guess the difference between like Band-Aids versus a total fix, right? It's like, instead of fixing the entire building and knocking it down and making it ADA compliant and all those things, which we don't have the money for right now, that's where, over time, we can start doing these minor changes, but, I mean, listen, I'd be more than happy to do the flooring myself with like some laminated thing, I just don't know the process in terms of like, if our members start ripping it out, like, is that a problem? Like, who do we have to
I
get?
meant
to
like
get
carpet,
that
not the flooring, like you can't take the under flooring.
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying like if we,
So
so
we
right now
can,
it's.
we can have a do-it-yourself construction class next
Yeah.
Saturday if you want.
Yeah,
Mm.
perfect.
I'm happy to help you with that.
JP, ask Mike.
All right, any other budget questions for JP? Because we've got Kent ready to go on the line here. Want to stay on schedule. Anything else, JP?
Nope, that's it.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
Thank you, JP.
Thank you, Rachel, thank you, JP.
Work. Good to see everyone.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
It's a tight budget this year.
I know, it always is.
Yeah.
First of the years were flush.
Looking forward to the
Yeah.
first flush year.
Letter.
All right.
That goes towards toilets.
No. All right. Kent, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
All right, we've got Kent Yates on. We're gonna talk about fire prevention. How's it going?
Everything is going well. Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thanks for making the time.
No problem.
All right, why don't you give us your presentation and monologue and tell us how things are going?
Oh, right now, everything fire prevention is doing well. We're doing a lot of inspections and a lot of house sales in the last year. So we're out on the road just about every day. So that's going well. As you can tell by the budget, we're trying to maintain a zero increase in budget for this year. That's basically it. There's not much to, when everything is status quo, it's good, you know?
Good.
All right, who has questions?
Do we have any more vacancies?
Do you have any vacancies right now for
I think
employees?
there's- Oh, I'm trying to double check.
Well, right now, we've got the three, plus Mary, the assistant, administrative assistant. Do we, right now, I think we can hold with the three. But, I don't think we need anybody right now. And I don't think there's any vacancy available.
Great.
Okay. All right.
We're covered.
Any other questions
What-
from the council? Yes, Lauren, go ahead.
What is the timing on when you get a request for a fire inspection to when it's completed?
Well,
Did
we
you
don't
do
get a
that?
we don't get a request for fire inspections. Our inspectors schedule them on their own and go out and just knock on the doors, and we're here to do an inspection. The smoke detector inspections that I do, Mary, schedules that based on the restraints of what the government set the guidelines. There's between 0 and 5 days, it's a one fee. If it's further out, it's another fee. And even further out, it's another fee. And that's what we base it on. So a person walks in today and wants to schedule a smoke detector inspection, like we call it, based on their schedule, we try to accommodate them to the best of our ability to get them in before their closing dates.
Okay.
We have a $45,000 vehicle requested.
Yeah, where are we with this vehicle request, Susan? Did we take that out or is that in?
It's in.
It's in? Susan?
No,
So this vehicle request is in, right?
yes,
So we're buying an electric vehicle with this? This is the one, right?
yes.
Okay, so your request for a vehicle is in the budget and you're going to wind up with an electric vehicle.
Whatever, as long as it starts and drives and has brakes, we were okay with that, you know?
Don't forget to plug it in.
Yeah.
Plug it
So
in.
long.
What?
They've been deferred for years.
Yeah. So you're gonna be the test, the first fully electric vehicle the borough's gonna have.
Where are we going to install the charging station for this vehicle, or are we just gonna plug it in the firehouse and hopefully that will be enough electricity to charge this?
So the first choice that we're talking about is in the municipal parking lot, the western side of the lot, where the electricity is, where the temporary police trailers were. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I have a good idea. So, I mean,
Right,
how
so-
are we gonna schedule this? We park at night, we gonna park during the day? I mean, if you're gonna open it up to residents,
No, this is a spot for this is gonna be a spot for your vehicle that you'll plug at the end of the day, you park your car over there, you park the borough car over there, you plug it in, you go home, you come back in the morning, it's fully charged, right?
Okay.
You're not doing anything. So correct us if we're wrong. We've made the assumptions that you do not need the car after hours on any sort of consistent basis, that it could stay parked and charging.
correct.
Is that
We would
correct?
only need it maybe once in a while after hours, but most of the time at 4:30, the inspectors leave unless there's an emergency where we would get called out. But
Okay.
most of the time that we'd be parking at the end of the shift.
All right.
Unless they're driving 200 miles a day, it will have some charge. It will
Are
not
you
go
driving
to-
200 miles a day in Tenafly?
I don't think so. I
Right.
think at
It's
seven,
like-
7 square miles in town, right, 9? I think we'll
No,
keep
it's-
under the 200.
4.4 and there's 56 miles of road, so you're
Yeah.
probably not driving 200 miles a day.
I don't think so. And if we had to, we could charge it back up during the day and, at lunchtime, if we ran a lot of inspections, we could charge it at night in the afternoon and get back to it.
Okay, Jimmy has a question.
I have a question that's more for the purchasing end of the money we set us or allocate for the purchase of this vehicle, could part of that be used for the purchase and install of the equipment? I'm just trying, I want to just better plan to make sure as we go
Well,
forward.
do we have a quote yet from the electrician?
I thought you said about 5,000.
Right, that's what Riley had
Yeah,
said.
so I have to figure out where we have to add that in somewhere.
Okay, so Jimmy, you need to talk to Kenny Riley directly. Yeah, Laura.
PSE&G is doing these installs now.
Well, if PSE&G, let's check it out. If they're doing it for
Yeah.
free,
And so
we
it's
take free.
So it's Tesla, even that you can convert it to a Tesla charger. They have a piece that now you can use the Tesla.
Right, but we're not gonna buy a Tesla because it's too expensive.
No, but I'm saying the
Not anymore.
plug, the plug.
Right. All right, one at a time, Julie, guys, one at a time. All right, so we could follow up with PSC&G to see if they have a program to install it for free, because free is gonna be our first choice,
Mhm.
Yeah.
assuming they do it the way we want. And then get in writing confirmation from, Mr. Riley about his price, that was no more than 5,000.
Right.
Okay.
And pick out a car so he knows what car, what plug. Okay.
I need these cars on see.
All right, any other,
Yeah, we're gonna.
No, I think.
any other questions for Kent? Kent, do you have any further questions?
No, everything seems like we covered it, you know. Next year, I think I definitely, this advising you ahead of time, next year's budget will have to get increased based on what my, like, inspection software has gone up over 500 this year, which I wasn't expecting, so I'm gonna have to finagle some numbers around in that. Dues for the associations that we belong to are all going up $50, $100 for them. So we are gonna be tight this year in this, on this budget that we're, using.
Okay. All right,
All right,
thank you very much. We all appreciate your time.
You're welcome. You have a good day.
Keep up the good
Bye.
work and have a nice weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Fire coming in person?
Phil Potts, is he here or no?
Can we take a 2-minute?
Everybody can take a 5-minute break, we're ahead of schedule, and we'll be some minutes behind.
So, I looked up the other day, and I guess they switched to the IAs.
Mhm.
So she's with Alex, and this, I guess they're both in financial literacy.
Yes, you just told me.
Yeah, so he raises his hand the first day, she died. She raises it, she came on to me, she raises his hand the first day, she goes,
It's interesting,
this is whatever.
Patterson
I don't
gets
need
things
this one.
recamped because
I know everything
economic.
about financial
So they did
literacy.
last year get a grant from DEP for an electric,
So this is like, well,
yeah,
it's like,
Very nice.
so they do it.
Denise is like, you have to be.
Well, so I learned from them.
I'm the same way, which is
The
good.
class was like
Yeah, his point about the congressman
like,
saying
he was basically like,
one of the
I got it,
multiple
I could teach it, like, I mean, he was kidding around, but like,
He was not kidding
I made a
around.
note here.
so funny, no, he was kidding around.
We got a report card yesterday,
Yeah.
right? And he did great on school.
Yeah.
But he had one note, like, the one teacher was like disruptive and everything. I didn't like it. We got to talk to him.
Hey.
Science, real class.
So literally, every single person said it was so funny, everyone was doing that, like I said.
Oh,
So anyway.
But not for me. So he sits with Natalia. No,
We should be
he sits with
looking
Natalia and
at
reviews your pitch books for
There you
banking.
go.
We
So
should-
anyway, he was trying to go to the street and see it. But Emily's on the funny thing.
Well,
She's
I'm
like,
going to talk about this with
I'm
you.
like, I'm gonna learn now. Thank you. So it's just like, oh, like funny. I thought that was cute.
No,
I
it's
thought that was
funny.
funny.
It is
Like, I learned it at home.
Different fire truck, self-fuel, like,
Yeah, he is, I don't know, I think I was,
so if we wanted with a fire truck,
I don't
right?
think I was that arrogant.
So we got some
Oh,
grant.
The two of them.
I think
I think it's funny.
I don't think he was gonna
I just know he was serious. Come on.
But they're not doing this.
Anyway, I thought that was cute, but they're together in that.
Now,
probably
yeah.
close.
And then they had computer graphic, computer
Program.
You have to add like code.
As aggressive.
right, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, but you
Of course, you could
can't
also
do
say that that would
anything.
keep the
So
fire.
Jeff and I literally had to learn coding for a semester and like help her. I was like watching YouTube videos on coding, like at dinner. I was like, all right, I'm gonna.
Gregory really likes it, very
Overcast Saturdays and
Good.
school. Not like we're gonna be outside, no one's playing checkers today.
Tomorrow for the Ramadan thing.
100%.
Good.
Just, I wanted to say that the
The
camera,
Spanish.
it's not a good thing, because they're on, no, they're on.
Doing a,
Well,
Yes,
no,
when I
that's
saw
how
you got her,
you,
That's
your
don't
most
have
blessed
that.
Ramadan, which
Yeah,
is correct.
No,
Ramadan
what I'm
Mubarak.
saying is,
well, I had
don't go
someone,
with those contracts.
for reasons
So they're doing the
opposite
part,
to
right?
college.
Oh, no, no,
myself.
no,
He said biology.
I know you asked.
I actually
No,
practiced
like
that
that.
for,
Yeah, but.
Yo, I can Emily say,
You buy it, yeah.
don't need this section.
I got this.
I got
I
it.
think we've ordered
He made me look at my
Chief,
Go out.
How are you?
what's going on, my man?
Okay, wait, before we start, I'm running out for 1 second, because I didn't do that yet.
Chief,
Please, sit down.
Thousand.
Can I get you a bagel or something?
No, I'm good, thank you, thank you.
1 second.
I was going to this.
I get this one?
Only
Yeah,
the
sure.
element
You're the boss, as always.
was, the
Very
camera.
nice.
What's
But
happening,
the
Adam?
element of her plan was cameras. You were just talking
I think I'm
about
home this week, at least. That's a win.
on that haven't been ordered yet.
No,
You good otherwise? That's good.
Pandemic.
We're going,
Did,
we're climbing Kilimanjaro.
But it's, now we're coming back, you know. and,
So we're
we
going
just-
today to,
try to get somebody.
Yeah, you beat me to it, but the, nature center,
Yeah, we're still going there.
about the availability for the school, because my wife was asking me about it. She said they were trying to book, because in the previous years they were able to, and, I'm saying it's been booked up. So she's like, I will, but.
My school was told there's like one day in April, one in June, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, so, I don't know what they're gonna do. I never thought about making it full time,
I would probably be a little easier. $25 a student for a full day program.
Okay, I didn't know they were doing that, to be honest with you. It's an idea.
Yeah.
I'll throw it out there to her.
Oh, that's okay.
She says, in previous years, I know they always go up to the nature center. She's saying that they weren't able to this year.
For some reason, you guys do
I mean, it's good and bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's bad that they don't have the staff.
That's it, right? You know, that's still being made, believe it or not.
You got all the paperwork yesterday from Beatrice.
I did, yeah. So I went through
Hopefully it
the,
looks okay.
it's okay, I didn't do the tally yet, you know, so I didn't do the tally yet, but I did go through everything.
Thank you.
So I was gonna come in here this morning and do it, but I went to go see John Wick last night.
Do what?
John Wick.
How much more?
And I got out there
Time,
about
you
maybe
slow.
closer to 1. And I thought I was gonna be here like 7 to do stuff. And I was too tired.
I get that.
Yeah.
Where are we at? What do we got?
Fire, we're ready to go.
Ready to go. Just waiting for the mayor.
Everybody walks out to different times. They can't walk out at the same time.
No, I'm good, thank you very
Well,
much.
I'll work
you know?
Okay.
Okay.
I do that to a room, you know, I come in, everybody,
Sorry, we were taking a break, we had a hot second to get up.
I don't know when I should come and break it up, but, you know, I think this is a good time.
Well, 10 gigs just took 5 seconds, so
Yeah, was that quick?
quick, easy, approved.
While we wait for everybody, how are we doing on, we ordered the fire truck, right?
Yes.
When's it coming in?
It's a little bit slower like everything else.
Shocker.
You know, but, right?
Mhm.
But we're thinking maybe the end of the summer, you know. by-
Oh, wow, that's super close.
That's not too bad.
That'd be,
you know?
what was the original plan? That sounds like
Another year or
I think when we, you know, when it was signed, I think the original 14 months or so, so it might be.
That's actually really good.
It might not be too.
Oh,
bad,
sorry,
you know?
is that just the chassis?
The chassis is being built right now.
No, the chassis is actually done.
Oh, it is?
Where is it being built?
Minnesota.
We do like a field trip?
Unfortunately, we have to at the end, and I say unfortunately, last time we were there, it was -40.
How's it get shipped? Does it get shipped on a truck?
What's that?
No, it doesn't get driven.
No.
It gets shipped on a truck.
No, it doesn't. I think by law, it has to be driven to the dealer.
That's a lot of wasted engine
It is,
hours.
but I guess if something's gonna go wrong, it's the time to find out, you know what I'm saying?
Do you think it's driven halfway across the country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense because.
Isn't it like 500,000 gallons a mile? There can't be any efficiency there.
No, you know, but those trucks, they're made to drive,
Hopefully
you
next
know.
25 years.
It's probably better for it, believe it or
Really?
not, you know.
Get that
A big
engine
truck like that.
warmed, poking in.
And
Okay, andiamo.
Okay.
nice and white, the Tenafly,
You know, we could have thrown it off, but it's still white. It's
still white,
you know.
good.
All right,
The
Chief,
white
what's
side.
going on?
Not much, you know, I don't know if you looked at it, but it looks like you can give me everything this year.
No increase, baby.
No increase.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, no increase, you know, we're asking for a few things in capital, not much really this year.
Before we get to capital, can we talk about staffing and volunteers? How we doing?
Not as good as I would like, you know, we're not really getting a lot of young older men, you know what I'm saying, in their 20s or 30s, you know, and we still have the junior program.
How many people, volunteers, do we have now?
I would say right under 40, maybe 38, you know. It's probably the lowest it's been since I've been around.
And what do you think, like, what should it be?
Well, 40 is good if everybody shows up, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, around 50 is good. I think there's a limit on it in Tenafly, believe it or not, for like 60. I
Who
mean,
set
I don't
that
know.
limit?
What's that?
We can undo that.
Who set that limit?
I don't know. I mean, it's been there forever. I don't know.
Okay.
And I saw it somewhere that.
Well, we were
I think we could disregard that if it ever happened. No, yeah, I mean, it's just something that's in some type of paperwork somewhere, you know.
We were just suggesting us to do that. So I love the junior program, I love getting the students involved, and I love giving them education, so definitely, I wanna make sure we're giving classes. But what I want is, sort of marketing to our community about like 40-year-olds, like, or 50-year-olds,
Right.
or, retired, or whoever wants to come out. I don't even know they can volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to push that also. I mean,
We need some PR here.
and what we're trying to do, but it doesn't work too well, is, we hope it works a little bit better. But if a junior comes, try to grab the parent, you know what I'm saying, at the same time, maybe they wanna go to school together. That's what we're trying, but it hasn't worked yet. Because it does take just like the ambulance, I mean, it's a lot of schooling.
Yeah, to that point, Maywood just did a whole blanketing of lawn signs all over town
Did they?
about
Volunteer?
call to join fire and ambulance.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same problem all over as,
Let people know
area.
that they could.
And I don't know
where
if
to
you read it,
contact.
but I would really, really like to use the DPW a little bit more than we have been. No, just for, like, sometimes, my point is, like, if you hire someone, if you can hire someone that might have been a fireman or is a fireman somewhere else. We've been doing this really since 1996. I just happened to see a letter that was, I forget who maybe Mr. Miller, and he signed something that, all right, if you're a borough employee, you can go to fire calls. So it's not something new. We've been doing it for a while, but it just seemed like it, and it was working well. It was working well, and then I guess there was a hiccup in the procedure. Maybe no hiring, but I mean, our main guy that kind of pushed it, I don't want to say anything, name-wise, he's not on the DPW anymore, all right? And maybe there was some friction there way back then. So I would like to kind of push that a little bit more, and that would help, especially during the daytime, of course. And I'm not saying that everybody leaves at the same time. If they're doing something that they can leave, I mean, that's how it's always been. I know there's a new superintendent at the DPW, so we have to kind of, even though he knows about it, we would kind of have to try to get him on board a little bit more. Like willing to let go of his guys.
I think right now he's pretty short-staffed. I know he still needs
He's
to hire.
short-staffed, but so is the fire department, so, and, I mean, volunteers go down, but that's what they did, we volunteered to do this. But if, you get a couple of guys from the DPW, 2, 3, 4, I mean, during the day, that's big. And it's
Yeah, Jimmy, we'll talk about that. Yeah, we gotta.
yeah, I mean, we had one once, and, but I really like to
Just making a note about
even for the
that.
new hires, like, I know I saw an ad, they're gonna hire somebody.
Right.
So I mean, some towns actually make it mandatory that you are a fireman when you become a DPW guy. I'm not pushing that, but in Bergen County, that's
Did the
what they do.
DPW guys then have to go for fire training?
Yeah.
Like, if they have it, that's a plus.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll send them, but a lot of times they are firemen already somewhere. So when they're hired by the DPW, it's part of their job description that they will go to fire drills. All right, but I'm not saying we have to do that, but I mean, some towns do that.
And if they're a DPW employee, are they still, and they're volunteering for the fire department, are they still eligible for the incentive program?
No, but that's something to actually well, put it this way, they probably are, but they don't make their percentage, so.
They don't meet the
But
hours.
it's something that I would think we should consider is maybe give them a stipend. I don't know what it might be, that could be discussed, say if you wanna go to fire goals,
Or make a
$1,000.
a different category.
Nick.
During the hours.
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
So they're already getting paid.
Mhm.
Right,
So then.
right, I got you,
That's
what the biggest problem I have with the driver.
yeah.
Well, the
I would-
incentive
I would
to
actually
get
like
the
to do
fire
that for
training.
both.
That's it.
Right.
That's.
I mean, they are eligible for it, but like I said, they
Because
usually don't make it,
Program should
and
not
I
apply.
think the percentage rate is a little bit higher that they have to make, because I guess the thought was that they're working for the DPW, they're getting paid. And it just doesn't have to be DPW, anybody here.
I was gonna say, well,
Could
I was
join.
gonna say police. We should make a separate category for DPW police in the
Oh,
incentive
yeah,
program, that
you never
if you
know.
also do this, because our police are first responders too, I was gonna say, the police would be.
But police can't really leave their job, you
It
know
could
what
be
I'm saying?
anyone, Lauren, anyone.
Yeah.
No, but on their off time.
Like out there.
That probably wouldn't work too well. A lot of firemen become paid firemen or police, you know, so they've already probably went the route. But it could be, you know, somebody sitting at a desk in the borough hall, you know, it doesn't have to be a DPW person, is what I'm saying.
Are fires, in my mind, and tell me if I have the wrong distinction, number of calls, are they going up or steady or down? And then number of
Working
actual cases, right? So I could be an optimist and I could tell you, I feel great with every new house. I think people are, you know, not as dumb as they are normally these days, and everyone has fire alarms, and that's a great thing. That obviously means that there's more false alarms. So how many calls versus how many
Like-
working something or other?
Well, working something, but it's also like an electrical fixture that's smoldering, so.
No, that's real.
Well, we get there before it's, you know, through the roof, so to speak, but, I would say almost half are false alarms.
Right. So how many calls do we get in a month?
Let's see, probably around 50, 60.
So we get a call every day.
Yeah, it's about 800, but it did come down, so maybe the last year or so it might have been 600, you know.
And then, so you're saying that there's 300 fires or incidents a year? 600 divided by 2, if you say.
Well, we go to car accidents, we go to, you know, a lot of minor calls.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, firefighters, they just happen to, like, you have a lot in them. I call a lot, but, you know, fires in Tenafly, maybe 3, 4, 5 a year, you know, like, when there's actually flames through the roof or whatever, but it's.
Yeah, what was that place that went on fire with the car wheel, you know, on the corner?
The car wheel on the corner?
The junkyard, yeah, what was it?
Oh, yeah,
Set up
yeah.
on
Oh,
fire?
yeah.
That was a major fire.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we just
Sorry,
had one,
I couldn't
like,
get the words out.
I would say a couple of weeks ago, that the guy left something on the stove and then went into his bedroom and forgot he left something on the stove, so then the kitchen was on fire. So, I mean, it happens probably more than you think, but not a big percentage, you know, I mean, and now you have carbon monoxide alarms.
Which is, right.
Which
again, we're happy about.
Yeah,
That's what we
because,
want,
I mean,
but there's more.
sometimes we go there is carbon monoxide,
Right.
so.
I forgot. You guys been to my basement, there was something.
Yeah, but there are a lot of false alarms, and it's, you know, usually you know the person is done cooking, and then, you know, that's there, you know.
I burned popcorn, right?
So,
Are you okay?
Oh, I had a police fireman.
So, just in getting to capital, one of the items on capital, the SCBA bottles, we've had grants for that in the past.
We've tried to get grants for that in the past,
Uh-huh.
and, we've been turned down. This year, we were gonna go for a grant, I'm not really sure if it was for the SCBA. It's a good idea, but the problem now is we're already in the process of getting them.
We're in the
So
third
say-
or fourth year.
Yeah, so if you, say we put it off to try to get a grant, and then we don't get the grant, we're gonna be behind 3 years instead of filling it out.
Yeah, but we would cut the cost of it.
The cost would cut down, but right now, we're desperate to use air bottles. Like, what happens, they expire after 15 years.
Right.
And we can't use them anymore.
But we've done this for 2 years, 3 years already?
About 3 years, yeah. But we bought the packs, which is different than the bottles, you know, so now the bottles are expiring, so we have to get more bottles.
Agreed. I know, what I'm saying is, the bottles, we can order that separately, right? That doesn't have to be part of.
Well, it would come out of the whatever money in the capital. We can order it separately, but they're like almost $2,000 a bottle, $1,500 a bottle, if I remember. You know, so to put that off, I mean, if you want to lower it to something, you could maybe do that, but I think it's just waste.
I'm just saying that with, if we apply for a grant today, right, we can get it, you know, maybe within the next year.
Right, I mean, what I would do, and it's, you know, you guys do it, but I would keep it in this year and apply for the grant And if we get it, then you can take it out of next year.
But that was, we didn't look into the grants in the past, right?
No, yes, we did.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
we did.
we
Every year, we
put in
do.
for,
So,
yeah. And now, I mean, I don't know how the grants work, but now they're gonna see that you got, all right, you got 30 new ones. What do you want this grant for, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how the grants work, but if I was given a grant, I would say, you know, you
But
already want 30, right?
I did send you an email.
Yeah,
with
I mean, I get
one of-
all the,
Yeah,
grants,
I mean,
too.
there's a number of them, it's not just that one, but
Yeah,
there's like
yeah.
several.
But they are for different things.
Mhm.
Like, some you can't put SCBA's in them.
Right.
The last one, I don't know if we made the deadline, but it was for, it was more for hiring people, but it was also to try to keep volunteers.
Mhm.
You know, I think the town used it for stipends, which we have, but we could, you know, we look for them, but we always look for a better grant writer too, you know, I mean, and you have to pay the grant writer, right? So you pay the grant writer,
Why don't they do that?
and seems like we haven't gotten many, you know, we've, dribs and drabs is how it comes in.
You know, we have a grant writer too now that we hired.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say anything. Are they good for fire? You know, I don't know.
I can't answer that question, yeah.
Right, right.
Ask them specifically to make
We should have you talk to them.
They're very good for government,
Right, okay.
so yes.
I mean, we're looking for grants all the time.
So while we're talking about grants for a second, I had a conversation with, Congressman Gottheimer a few weeks ago about fire trucks.
Right.
And, you know, he was very optimistic about the whole discussion, and he said essentially, as far as he sees, the key with it is for us to apply 3 or 4 years in a row, knowing we're going to get rejected for 3 or 4 years, and in the final year, then we'll get one,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So I don't know where you are in your continuum with when you're going to need a new fire truck.
Yeah, it's probably coming up in a couple of years.
Right, so that's something we should be applying for a grant for
Right.
now.
But don't you, if you, I thought
The budget for it.
you don't have to budget for it if you apply for it?
Yeah.
How does that work,
You
Susan?
don't find out till the next year.
Yeah.
But
1.5.
We have to budget for it, we have to tax the consumer.
So if you apply for the grant,
when we know, you know,
Oh, you can,
right, so we don't
you
have
should
to,
put it in, but you don't know when you're gonna get it.
okay.
right.
That's great.
Right, I mean, or if you get it at all, I guess.
So we should be applying for a fire truck grant this year,
Right,
knowing, and then next
Knowing
year
we're
and the
not
following year, knowing we're not gonna get it for 3 or 4 years, and then perhaps in the final year, they'll give it to us, so we've got
we
to,
have applied for fire trucks before, just to let you know.
do you do it every year?
Yeah, we
Not
know.
every year though.
So there's the challenge, we have to do it
Yeah.
every year consistently.
Which should be easy because everything's gonna be the same. You just
Right.
reapply.
We get a letter of support from the Senate office.
We can get a letter of support from the congressman also.
So to that point, and I'm looking down the road, your one ask is Squad 2 in 2026. So what does Squad 2 do, and would that be one that we can start looking at? Because there's no other vehicles through 2027 of any size.
Right,
What's engine two though? Isn't engine two the big one? Sorry, you wanna see this?
Engine 2 is
No,
zero
yeah,
all the way,
absolutely.
Lauren, engine 2 is zero all the way across.
Right, I know, because I didn't think we were applying for isn't engine two the big fire truck?
Isn't that the one we just, no. we
No, it's
just got
Squad
that
2
out.
for
I'm
800,000.
talking about Squad 2, 800,000 is the only thing projected in the next 5 years, that's a
Right.
vehicle of any
and that's
sort.
because of the age, so.
And so my question is, was that due, should we start looking at grants now for
Right, if
4
we're
years
gonna-
from now?
If we're gonna do a grant, that's the one that we should,
So what does that vehicle do? Squad
it actually has water on it, like a pump.
Mhm.
Is it the pumper, is it the replacement for the 2000 Spartan rescue pumper?
Where, the one he's
Or-
talking about.
There's no such thing called Squad 2,
Well, I'm
Yes,
looking
there
at the
is,
Capitol.
2/3 of the way down.
no, I see it there.
Yeah, I
It
know.
doesn't fit
I
with
know,
anything
I
in
know.
the section.
Well, that's also because this probably is not
Oh,
looking
what's
at,
the name of it? It's the
That's-
Spartan, yeah, it is the
It
Spartan.
is Spartan,
Yeah.
so it's the rescue pumper,
Right.
that's
Right.
Squad
So
2.
it carries the, first tool and all the rescue equipment for accidents. So this way, the purpose is that if you're a little lack on manpower, you get water there plus the rescue equipment.
So
All right,
Jimmy,
then,
to our point, we should be applying for that grant this year.
right, that's the
Right.
point. Look, we should be looking down the road, and looking down the road that same year, because we always focus on, this is 2023, let's look at
Right,
2023, but we get these 5-year projections. Talk to us a little bit about, the fire department renovation expansion, $3.5 million in that year.
That we should
'Cause
look for
we
a grant for also.
What are you proposing?
Basically, we're running out of room, believe it or not, and, I mean, we're getting more equipment, the equipment's getting bigger. You have a washer, a dryer, you gotta, get room for. A lot of the stuff should be contained now, like when you come back from a fire, your gear should, because of the smoke and the cancer, it should be in a separate room. We don't have that, but I'm just talking about the future. So that's why that's in there. I mean, the heating system is outdated, so that's, that would be part of it. So it would be a little bit of expansion and just upgrading everything. I mean, because there's more requirements, for safety and cancer and stuff, and you need the room to actually do that.
And that's important, I don't wanna put our guys at risk.
No, I mean, we try the best, we got the exhaust system and everything else, but it's just, you're going to the next step, I mean, everybody is.
Coach, the radiant heat engine room, should that logically be put in with the?
Yeah, it probably should
renovation?
be, yeah, if we're gonna go that way, That's a good.
Yeah.
Or it should be collapsed in.
So-
Yeah, just.
Another
Yeah,
building.
I don't even know why they did it years ago, but they did
Another
that
building?
type of system, and it's,
We're not gonna make
overall,
that
it's very
decision this year.
inefficient.
No, just something to keep on
Yeah.
our radar, that we don't tend to do that.
And I am gonna say again, our ladder trucks, we have, how many ladder trucks that can go higher than 4 stories?
4 stories?
Yeah,
All our ladder trucks, can go higher than 4.
good. And
But it's the reach also, so if you're not right next to the building,
Right,
you're not gonna reach.
so we're putting in a few, you understand, the planning board has approved numerous 4-story or
I
more
see that.
downtown.
Mhm.
So, are we able to?
Numerous
use that?
or one?
Can we go 4 stories?
Can we go
Can
4
we?
stories comfortably?
Four
for-
different
I would say yes, as long
On
as
West
they give
Railroad,
us
That covers
room
West Railroad.
to get to the building.
So, right,
I
right.
like keeping going.
The theater.
The theater, the apothecary, Wells Fargo.
Well, you can't be too far away.
Wells Fargo is not approved. Wells
Hasn't even
Fargo, there is
come-
no Wells Fargo
It's the
project.
old geometry.
There's no
I remember.
project.
There is no project.
Don't think it's coming back,
What?
for a conversation later now.
Right, but I mean, no one.
I mean, I just saw
submitted
a plan
anything.
for, I guess it was Benjamin Brothers.
That's it.
Now, they're not giving us any room in the back to get a piece of fire equipment there. So that's, I mean, that's a no-no for me right away,
Yeah. You should let
Again,
the
that
planning
hasn't
board-
even,
No, I know, but I'm just looking for the, future.
That one is.
Order with that.
it's right for it just happened Wednesday, right?
It's got a drum.
All right, too many people talking. Well, go ahead, Julie.
So I was just asking the chief, because I've never been on the planning board, when he reviews plans, their proposals, and he gives his feedback, as, like, that becomes work, right? Like, that's,
It's part of the documentation that goes with the
The
application.
planning board members can disregard, it's not.
it can be disregarded?
You can
Completely.
disregard
Absolutely.
anything.
Yeah, just we disregard
They
anything.
can disregard what the chief is saying about being able to.
But then again,
Absolutely.
just the way the council works is the council could reassess
Disregard
that.
any
Could
advice.
disregard the planning board's, right?
Right.
Always?
I mean, in the past, they've always
I don't
kind of
know.
taken.
We have to
our-
approve everything.
Yeah, so to the
planning board
chief's
just says
point,
it's not
right?
inconsistent
So
with the
when the
plan.
chief of police and chief of the fire department, of
Planning
course,
board
their
roads to-
recommendations are taken very seriously, but the chiefs aren't sitting members of the planning board that vote.
No.
Okay.
So the boards are not obligated to follow. You're asking like the hard question?
Yeah, no,
Right,
really.
they're not-
I just wanna know.
Legally obligated to follow their opinions, right?
Okay.
Unless someone appeals it.
They typically do though, but they're not obligated.
Right. And then I don't think the council is allowed
No.
to override the planning board then.
Yeah, so the
No, it doesn't
planning
work
board
that
could
Unless it's.
disregard the police and
Right.
guess we can't do anything about it.
Wow, no, it's just good to know. Okay, all right, thanks.
Chief has staffing, has
I would think,
administrative filings,
I
everything
thought
goes
there's
on.
variances within.
Fire lanes and stuff? Yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
coming before the planning board.
I think the,
Say it again?
The
I don't
the
think-
filings.
The council, stuff doesn't come before the
and
council
paperwork,
if they're,
calls
If there's
and
a
stuff.
change to the
well,
board.
yeah, everything's working fine.
right, you need to change right.
Up to date.
But as far as a particular application, no.
Mr. Gates was
As
talking
long as
about,
they're within the
better software.
variance without.
Is that something that
They
you're
have,
looking
the
for?
Well,
authority
Ken-
has to.
Yeah, I mean,
adjustment
if he
to
gets better
issue
software, that helps us,
Exceptions.
but it's more
For
for them,
variance.
but it's the same program that we keep track of the
I thought it-
percentages for the fire department.
Planning board and
So-
Board of Adjustment are
Work together.
quasi-judicial bodies.
Okay, that is, it's not in here, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, because,
They're a legislative body
basically, it's still good for us,
with a lot of
you know,
executive authority.
very outdated, I would
So
say.
you can't
So
override
it's a lot, so
official
if
authority.
he gets it, it would definitely
But
help
you can
the,
change the law.
Right. Then why does stuff come to us? Why did Benjamin Brothers come to us? Why did, Clinton come to us? Why did?
They're not the planning
Can't
board.
mention it,
So-
yeah, so I can get
Clinton
more
and
details.
because that actually was an overlay zone, an area
Oh,
needed for
right.
redevelopment.
right.
So that came before us.
Right.
The actual final plans,
That's why
Who
the
go to the
brush
planning
truck is
board
still
and
in
not
there.
to,
It was at the 80.
Why did Benjamin Brothers
Yeah.
come to us first time?
that
It was-
was
it
just
was a thing.
advisory. They didn't
We
have.
tried to put it, we tried to get it last year.
I think they were just
There's no
fishing
pickup
to
trucks
see what
available
the
whatsoever.
sentiment
And they said
was.
they don't know when
What's the
they're
matter?
coming in.
I don't know.
So
They
we were
really
down
shouldn't have
two
brought to us.
vehicles. I personally didn't
Oh,
have a
that's good.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you know, so two of the other ones came available, so we picked those up. And we were lucky doing that kind of the situation. I think it's getting a lot better this year, you know, vehicles, but, yeah, those were both lost. I mean, there was two lost.
I don't remember.
Well, FEMA, I don't know, well, I think we applied for it, but we got to get insurance.
So what are we doing on the pickup truck?
But, you know, it's
So
$80,000.
far, it's not it.
It isn't.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not a
so-
lot.
Is it
And
recommended?
they- and
Oh,
that
no,
was-
no.
I think the
No.
one
You're right,
vehicle
I'm sorry.
was 2009, you know, so that's what you're.
All right, who has more questions for the chief?
I'm good.
Chief, anything else you want to talk about?
I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
Um,
So much for being good.
sorry, no, I just want to thank you. I
In
want to thank
7
you for
parts.
everything you do.
Oh, thank you.
I also want to thank you, for opening up the firehouse in May for our new residents. And that is coming up on May 17th. So
Is it?
thank
Are we
you.
doing that again? No.
I hope so, but we're planning.
Hold on, let me write that down.
So, thank you for allowing our residents to come in and see the fire trucks and meet the staff.
I'm always vague when they ask, just to let you know, because anything could happen, we might not be
Right,
there,
right,
you know?
it's an
And I think they
emergency call,
understand that, but,
Yes.
so-
That's priority, of course.
yeah, thank you.
So thank you for everything, thank you for your, all your help.
All right, thank you for your help, everybody here, you know?
It's good.
Yes,
All right,
everyone.
Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't, you know?
Thank you.
We're good?
Yeah,
All right,
we're good.
all right.
Thanks.
Take high, Chief.
How did I do on the Capitol? We're good with everything? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions.
I have to, because I got 38 guys that are gonna ask me something, you know?
We have that one.
Say they're impossible, but I fought hard, it's looking good.
Time out a second.
I know what,
So, wait a minute, you have clarity on the Capitol?
for the truck?
No, this one.
No, I thought it was out.
The
I thought it was
80,000.
in, I mean,
No, it's out.
The pickup
No.
truck,
the pickup truck for 88,000.
or the utility vehicle, no.
No,
Yeah,
it's
the
the
pickup
pickup.
truck, right.
I mean, that's what we need more than maybe
All right,
some of the other
talk to
things.
us.
Get out.
Took it out.
You wanna?
We talked about it. Just a
Yeah, we took it out. Did you really need it?
It's one, like I said, it's one of the most important vehicles we have, because it's used for taking firemen back and forth, going to school, equipment at fires, even like water at fires, so it's a very important vehicle. We would've got one last year, but there was none available whatsoever. Not that it matters, but you did get insurance money for the vehicle that was, you know, wounded in Ida. So it's not like I'm saying you got money for it, but it's not as bad as $80,000.
Is it more important, as you were saying, is it more important than the scuba packs for
No, no, that's-
75, or
that's
the gas,
personal.
or the rescue equipment for 40, or the thermal imaging cameras for 30?
It's personal for the firemen, you can't.
It's the chief's, I trust the chief.
Let's see.
If we have finite resources, maybe.
I think it's, like, for this year, I would say it's more important than, not almost all of them, but definitely, I would say the thermal imaging, we could probably get by without this year.
So, I'm gonna.
Where's the $22,000 that we got, that we received? What do we do with that money, Susan, do you know?
Sometimes we credit back to the line item, sometimes it goes somewhere else, but usually we just might credit back, but you still can't buy a vehicle. with
No.
it. You can't do that. But,
No, I understand,
But
but
where's the
we're
money
trading
now? Is it
dollars, we're
surplus?
just trading dollars.
I'd have to look to see where we put it, but sometimes we credit it back, sometimes it goes somewhere else, like into miscellaneous revenue not anticipated other places, so.
So with that
Well,
22, and if we take out the thermal imaging camera, that's 52, so the net cost is 28,000 in terms of cash, right?
I have another question.
On the,
So the 20, you got the two Chevy Tahoes, they're both 2022s, right?
Correct.
So, and then the other question I would have is, how many miles does some of these other things, like the life expectancy?
It's
They-
more years
And
and
the use?
than use than miles.
So,
But we don't really have many other vehicles. That's the problem.
I mean, if you took out the thermal engine, I just want everybody in the room to know that on Tuesday, we're really gonna be looking at capital, because we need a 5% down payment, it's not exactly 5%, for everything, and the budget right now calls for, it has $175,000 for the down payment in capital improvement fund.
175?
175, and our budget, I believe, for capital is over 3.5 right now. I'm not saying you shouldn't get this, okay? I'm just pointing out that we have to be really careful, because I think we're over the 3.5, so I am gonna have to put more money into our budget. I may be able to offset it, contingent upon what surplus we have.
Did we get rid of the two, so we got two brand-new trucks last year, obviously in addition to the ladder truck. Those two, did they replace two older trucks, or are we now up a truck?
No, one was totaled, one is replacing the older truck. So basically, right now, we don't have a pickup.
What's the
Two years ago, how many trucks did you have?
We're down a truck.
So from IDA, he's still down one truck.
One truck?
This is the replacement of that down.
Now, they both say
Can I just-
511.
wait, Banu first, then Lauren.
They both say command vehicle 511.
Right, there's three Tahoes currently in the portfolio.
How many
Oh,
Tahoes?
So there's two 511.
All right, the one that says 511 should say 512, all right?
That's the older one.
That's just a
The
spare.
older one.
It's a 2008, I think,
Or the newer one.
2012.
512. This one's
2012, okay, so that's a spare. The 2008
Yeah.
doesn't really run that well. The airbags are been recalled and it doesn't start all the time. We've been trying to find out what's wrong with it.
Chief.
So that's not really a good first responder vehicle. Yes, sorry.
How many trucks did we have 3 years ago, let's say?
Trucks meaning
The
small
Chevy
vehicles.
Tahoes,
Utility vehicle.
the utility vehicles.
Operational.
Operation.
For your operation. How many were in operation?
A collection of old ones.
I think 4 or 5.
So we're going from 4 or 5, we're now down to 3, is that?
We're down to, 2.5 basically. One's not really the best, but we don't have the.
Sorry, right now we have four. As of right this minute, we have four. We have two brand-new cars.
Two brand-new ones.
One 2012, one 2008.
Right. The 2008,
Right, yeah.
we really can't use to respond in.
So this would be
It's not safe.
Right.
You know, so we right now we have 3. But the thing is, the pickup is
Used to
you
carry
could use it
equipment.
for first responder, but it's used for a lot more things.
Yes, Lauren.
Thank you for the willingness to take out the thermal imaging, but I will say, this is great technology to find somebody in a smoky room. When I looked at this actually might be a great thing to ask for either federal funds or grants, because if we do take this out, I do eventually want to get us back in for the chief's budget. And I want the chief to know, like, that technology needs to be updated. This is a life-saving technology.
Sure.
And to me, I can't imagine a more important thing to ask for grants and money. So I know the chief here is willing to make that sacrifice today to get this vehicle in, which he needs to transport.
We need the vehicle.
He needs to transport equipment on a day-to-day basis, but this technology also could be the difference between life and death. So,
So the question is, does council want to take off the camera at 30,000 and add the
Yeah, but stuff like that you need right away.
pickup truck?
we gotta get that technology for you in one way or the other.
We could take the fire hose off.
Dan?
It's not much, but
Dan?
5,000, you know?
Take out the thermal imaging and put the
And he
pickup
said the
truck
fire
in, yes
hoses.
or no? What?
And he says the
And the fire hoses.
No, we can,
Guys,
but.
we need fire hoses. Can we stop nickel and
So is
diming
it-
our fire department? We
Yeah,
need
is it
fire
yes or
hoses.
no?
Yes, yes.
Lauren?
I would take out the thermal imaging, keep the fire hoses and the vehicle.
Okay, sounds like.
I would not go against what the chief actually
So
recommended.
there's 3 yeses, Vanu.
And
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Yes.
Vanu?
I'm not sure what's on the table. What's on the table?
We're taking
Take
out
off the thermal
we're taking out
and the
the thermal imaging camera and, putting in the pickup truck for 80,000.
And is that what you're happy with? That's what you
Yeah, I
want?
think that will be
But the
very
thermal
good.
imaging, you're gonna end up putting in next year?
Yes, or go for
For
a
a grant,
grant.
or go for a grant.
Or go for a
Yeah.
grant?
Right. The thermal imaging is still important, but we have a couple, but it's just old technology.
Does he get credit though for the 22,000 though? You were talking about the 22,000.
we've got, the borough has the cash, right?
Yeah.
Making a list of grants.
I don't know if we have it yet, I have to find
Yeah.
out, you know.
So Julia, you yes or
We
no?
got the money back.
Okay, Susan?
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, okay.
Susan, we got our yes, we're taking out the thermal imaging, putting in
yeah.
the truck, you got it?
And the
Thermal
hoses.
imaging And the hoses and putting in the.
No, we're not, we're
Keep the
keeping the
hoses.
whole.
Oh, we're keeping.
He
the
just said we could wait.
Oh,
Yeah, he
You said
said,
we can
he
wait
said
on
we
the
can wait
hoses?
on all.
If we have, if it would help you, we could wait on the hose.
Yes.
It's a priority of the vehicle.
Yeah, the vehicle is priority.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, chief, thank you very much.
Right, was that was a yes, right? I didn't know.
Yeah. Don't oversell.
All right, I appreciate it, thank you.
And, wait, excuse me, sorry. Do we want to get this utility vehicle green?
Look at it.
Well, yeah.
We have ideas as a council and we completely disregard them all the time. We want to save money, yet
Take out the-
all we do is spend money.
Adam, it's too heavy.
I think,
Why?
no, because you like to go for.
It's a Yukon, is it a Yukon?
No, it's
No.
What kind of pickup?
From here, it should just be 25,000.
Ford F-150.
Much more even instead of.
Correct, right, instead of the
I would
big numbers.
actually look into see.
Yeah, you're right.
Again,
Oh.
this is not even my thing.
I'll look into it, but I don't know if it would work for
Because
us,
he
but I'll look
could
into
put
it.
uniforms
So when you put
and the
weight in
thermal
it,
imaging would be.
Where's this car?
Susan wants to say
Where was this
All
car?
right, one at a time, one at a
So we
time.
had a 250 and it.
I hear exactly.
We had it at 250.
And it was sold.
That's how we have to think.
It was- No, it was just
What?
totaled an item.
The DPW director has major issues getting a Ford 250. They
Right.
changed it to the 350. Two
Well,
of them.
Yeah.
we'll think about it, but that might be overkill, but if that's what they have, is, you know.
It's what they.
All right, have a good day.
It's unbelievable. We are the most
It might have
inconsistent
to
council I've
be.
ever seen in my life.
No.
We have no principles
I'm just letting
whatsoever.
you know.
So what happens with the electric batteries, is the heavier the
That was
car
his
is,
thing.
the back.
Quicker it dies.
Look at it. Look at it.
He'll look at it.
He has to look at it.
All right, we'll take another, 3-minute
So
break
Adam, to the
until the
point,
chief comes.
when you look at their 5-year average, here, if you see the fire department,
I see it all, yeah.
no, I mean, it goes up, down, up, down. We should be looking at 2025 and moving stuff to there where it's low.
Is the police
and
chief here?
evening it
My
out.
thing is though,
We should be
again,
discussing.
you and I.
Take a 5-minute break, everybody.
You and I agree on budgeting a lot.
No, but you're, sorry, you're, today,
Right.
you put another $10,000 into the nature center, it's a black hole. They don't manage their
You are
business
right.
well, horrible.
There's no problem.
But you put another 10 in. We put another 40 in. Again, I'm just,
I wanted.
you know me. Oh, I love principles. Like, you
No.
like purple, I get it. You want to kill bugs. God, I just love the consistency of it. Today, you've been spending.
So, for the nature center,
That's terrible. Actually, that's a personal one for me. I love the HR. I use it all the
for me,
time. She doesn't know how to manage the business.
for me, because a lot of it comes from our open space,
Right.
which we've already taxed the people on, and we're fairly.
But we know we're going to use it. Actually, you know we have great things, places that we could use it.
Right.
If you had $10 million of open space,
Yeah.
we could use
Chief, how you doing?
Doing well, Mayor, how are you?
And the other
Good.
thing is, it's personal to me.
You want a cup
We
of
just gave him
coffee or a
$1
bagel
million,
or an aspirin?
ladder truck last year.
Yes.
He is definitely, I've asked this before, no one ever does any of this
Ran out of here,
stuff.
so.
What is your, for each department, how is it going? Everyone has different.
All right.
And again, you and I believe in principles, I feel like you're moving off of it in the sense of,
got that.
what are the chiefs come in, it's just this, what are the 3 things you're doing better this year? What are the 3 things you realize that you don't need buggy whips anymore? I haven't seen a single department
Yeah, you
come
know,
in with,
they're all worked
you know
out
what?
right now, you know, something.
15, 20 years ago, you gave me $1,000 a month for dry erase markers. I don't use them anymore because everything's
But I
electric.
keep putting it in.
Yes.
Provide information that I can, but you have two different, you
No,
know,
that's
groups
true.
at
Very
polar
different
opposites.
views.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We always go, again, in my
And
day job.
we always ask the question, what more do you need?
Right. Well, what the
They're our experts. Supposedly, they're asking more than they.
Right. Come on.
Two of them are my neighbors who are.
Well, we're right on
So I
time.
have, access to.
I will,
email system, so I
Be
can
more-
pull out information out.
No.
Hard
And
button.
that's going
I just like, again,
I try and be consistent.
No, I know that.
So, let's see,
Okay.
I just looked at it.
Chief, how you doing?
Like that. Doing well, how are you?
All right.
Thank you
Why
for
don't
coming,
you tell
Chief.
us what's going on? The news coming right back in.
Lots of narrative stuff.
Back to fire.
So, I think you email about that. There's one of them.
What?
Did we get the arbitration award?
And.
Oh, I'm sure he knows about it,
Iron
yeah.
and fire, something else.
Yeah. All right, Chief, you guys,
leaving
Chief, start telling us your story.
We gotta see how it goes.
Okay.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I prepared for you my budget, for 2023. Broke it down to, some things that affected us last year and what I'm expecting this year, from a staffing standpoint. So, yeah, I lost 2 people last year, right? One person transferred, one person, went on disability, unfortunately, he's doing well. And then I had a lot of paternity leave, and some injuries. This year, I have 4 paternity leaves, the FMLA for childbirth. So I have 2 officers out now. Unfortunately, I'm getting one back soon, one still out. Of course, a little bit of overtime issues. I have one about ready to leave, and I have one that's gonna be, actually 2 that are about ready to leave. I'm in that range right now with, I say leave, FMLA. No, I apologize. No, I apologize. No. We have a young department that is in that, range of having childbirth and FMLA, obviously, it's 12 weeks, right? And they're using it, and actually, some don't, but most of them do, so I'm facing that. We have the 2 officers that are, new, that are, field training, and they're doing very, very well. I see them every day, so that's progressing well. But also too, on the staffing standpoint, so I have, right now, I have one vacancy that I've come to you for, something to replace. We had a couple police commission meetings, and I think we wanted to look until today. But right now, the clock is ticking. The TTC has come up with new rules, a couple new rules, and they've, we have to get a couple of processes done a little earlier, so the window is a little shorter. We have an officer, something that is waiting in the wings, and it's just a matter of giving him conditional employment and starting that process. But right now, we are down on the table of organization, we are down 1 person.
Chief, can I?
Absolutely, yeah.
The chief did not, let me just be very clear, the chief in our police commission meeting, wants to replace an officer. We have a senior retiring officer. This person comes in at a low-level salary, and the chief needs the coverage. And he made it very clear to our police commission meeting that he wanted to get this as fast as he can in this year, so that we can get these candidates the chief feels confident in. So, I'm going to put a yes vote in for you for that, but I want to discuss it at the table, of course.
You just corrected me, because I'm trying to play.
Go ahead.
So actually, this officer is for the officer that's going to be leaving in 3 months.
That's right.
So I'm gonna be down, I apologize, I'm gonna be down one with my capable organization.
With that high
And
level.
what I wanted to do was I wanted to have him already in the academy, so as the officer's leaving, he comes out and there's no lapse. Unfortunately, what's gonna happen is that as this officer leaves, he's gonna be school hire, he's a New York State trooper, he's very young, and sometimes the training will transfer, but from New York State to New Jersey, it's called a waiver. And he's gonna get a waiver, and we're probably gonna get him out of doing the PT, which is good because he already went through 1 boot camp, he said, why put him through that again? But he's gonna go to a lot of the classes. So what's gonna happen is that if I'm allowed to hire him and Sergeant Hall leaves, we're not gonna have this officer for another 6 months going on the road because he's not in the academy. But the process has started.
I thought he was allowed on the kid.
So Officer Kim was a New York City police officer who went on waiver, but New Jersey TT Safety Training Commission basically made him go to almost every class. Didn't have to do the TT.
Yeah.
It was an abbreviated academy.
Safety value, wasn't it?
Not much now,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately, something that it's, and now we're getting ready to go to licensing, which is a whole new thing. I'm not sure you had heard that also too. That's.
When you're done, I'm sorry.
Okay. So this officer, this candidate, he actually was one of our top candidates, and he actually declined the position last time, because it was a very short window, and he didn't want to leave the New York State Police in the lurch. He was just very conscientious about something, being new there, and just didn't want to do that to him, and I appreciated that. It's something that would have been very rushed. So I had said to him, if there's a potential opening, in the future, and if you're so inclined, you still want to actually go with it, something, we'll give you a call, something. So we're just waiting for your approval, and this would give him the proper time to separate from New York State Police in a professional and respectful manner, not leaving them in the lurch and something, and establish a residency down here, so we get come to the state. So, do you want me to continue on, or you want to stop now?
It's up to you.
Keep
You want
going.
to-
Go right ahead.
Manu has a question.
Go right ahead.
So with this, did the proposed replacement, did he go through a process, a job search process, or did he?
I was, sorry if I may.
Advertise and all that?
Yeah, and the chief could definitely run with this. I think that's the one thing I wanted to point out, he was probably the top, he was the top 2 or 3 ranked, in that process, this last hiring process, where we got, Hossam and Caitlin. But just to that point, the turnaround time, he didn't want to do that to his employer. So yes, the short answer to that, and I'll let the chief.
He went through all that process.
Everything the last time.
Interviewed and everything,
By compilation.
We gotta start a process like
from brand new.
and that's gonna be, I don't think he's gonna decline, but that would be challenging.
So Julie, do you have a question?
Yeah, but
Oh, Susan, then Julie.
Chief, did we allocate properly the budget? I just want to make sure I see that the, one officer who's a sergeant, who has been prorated to his retirement date. But if you look at the bottom of the salary sheet, is that vacancy going to cover the new hire? And is that the vacancy? I just want to make sure, because it says, because we put it in as 7-1. So I know that the sergeant is fine. I just want to make sure that the vacancy is only 1 at the bottom and starts on July 1.
That half, no, that's too short.
That's half a year.
For the probationary,
For the-
academy.
Right.
But does he
Probationary
still go to
30.
the academy?
No, 40.
Well, I have to figure this,
34.
yeah,
How much is probationary?
it's, well, I don't know the exact number.
It would be a cat, it would be a cat.
It would be,
Cat
okay,
and probationary.
So then that looks about right.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
I just wanted to make sure.
And then what does he go to in 2024, Susan?
He goes up, in 6 months, he goes up to probationary,
Which would be the
What's your
64.
whatever, yeah.
and then he goes to
Yeah.
the step 1.
Yeah.
Which is how much salary, I'm sorry.
I have to get the step guide.
So Chief, you're asking to fill this one vacancy.
What?
Correct, yeah.
Right, so Jimmy, what does the chief need from the council,
Oh, yeah.
other than a consensus?
He needs approval.
You can see the proposal.
No, what does he need? Does he need a resolution? Does he need consensus?
He needs this vote right now.
Yeah, and it's also, and Susan and I and the chief have ran through this, because there's no, it's, the impact of the budget in terms of the salaries is.
It doesn't change.
No,
Yeah.
it's in here, and when you,
So Dan,
I don't know why we delayed this.
so is that a yes or a no?
That's a yes.
But sorry, just,
Lauren?
That's a month ago.
Wait, Adam has some questions.
I was just, so last year, so we have 34 today? So what is the?
I'm sorry, yes, we do, and we're gonna be at 33 August 1. Wayne Hall's leaving.
That's
Right.
I did hear.
So, just the first thing, should we have 40? Should we have 30? Should we have 90? Like, what's the metric for
No.
officer? Is it by population, by
So
area?
So historically, when I first came on in 1994, we had 37 people. We've been downsized, to 30, we actually went to 33, and then.
We went from 39 to 33.
And then with the school being part of the SRO, we were able to come back up to 34. So we and a lot of departments use the FBI's recommendation calculations for law enforcement in the community, which is 2.5 officers per 1,000 residents. So that actually, if we use that, that would actually put us a little higher than 34. I'm not asking for new, I'm looking to maintain the table organization. I'm not asking for more people.
Right.
I'm looking to hold what we have.
But that, and just to make sure the data is right. So we have 34, this shows in 2022, we had 34.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes. Well, for part of the year, because we have people leave, but we just hired 2, so we have 2 new officers.
Well, now we have.
So right now we have 34, but in 3 months, we're going down to 33 with Sergeant Hall leaving.
Right. So we're looking to just hire 1 to stay at 34.
Correct.
For this year, the budget is 34, you're saying?
And I'm looking to keep it 34. As one person leaves, one person replaces backfills.
So just to follow up, because Adam, you said something this year. If another officer were retiring, in other words, if the council says yes to replace this officer who's leaving, if someone else retires next month, the chief is going to come back and say, by the way, someone else retired, I want to replace him or her also.
Yeah.
Right, just for clarity purposes, because you said a comment about this year. Go ahead.
No, you go first, because I have one more question. Okay, so, I wanted to know in difference of timing, if Sergeant, is it Sergeant Hall?
Yes.
Okay. If Sergeant Hall's replacement didn't work out in this particular way, this is less of a budget question, but more of an operational question to you. How much more time does that add to this process?
I can still probably get the person in the academy, but I have to run now a written test. Costs money. I have to then do a physical agility test. I have to do, I got to get those processes going.
So a couple more months?
Yeah.
So, okay, so the reason I asked this is in my broader, goal
Yes.
of having more gender equity in our police department.
Right.
And I know that that's not something that specifically we say, oh, you're gonna hire a woman officer, and that's not legal, I
Right.
understand that. But I'm just saying that, if, I understand this person was a finalist candidate the last time, but
Yeah.
if there was an interest in casting that wider net, are we looking at a couple of months difference? Because, I'll say on the record, I am interested in getting more female officers.
Julia, I'm just going to make a comment that then we need to convince more women to apply for these jobs.
He had, so the last time he had like 2 women and 1.
And we hired one of them.
We had a few.
Three, like it was better last time and his.
Yeah,
No, wait, I don't think they were failing the test this year.
They're not.
Yeah, I'm saying we had more candidates that were women the
Qualified.
last time,
Yes.
qualified. It improved from previous, and we were able to
Right.
pick one.
Correct.
And I'm saying now we're going out, we have another spot,
Opportunity.
and another opportunity.
One of the things to know is the reason we got her is because this gentleman turned it down.
Right.
And Alicia, no longer here, no, she was high on it, and she's Spanish too, so it's,
Okay.
she does check one of the boxes.
Yeah, good.
Right. I'm not gonna do a hiring, I don't wanna do a hiring process just because I get another female, I think that's counterproductive, I think that's a little dangerous. Now, listen, we got one, and we got a great one, it's something, there's gonna be more in the future, but and I think the council is trusting me, we always go for the most qualified person.
Of course.
Agreed.
Most important.
Right, we look for
I don't think it's the most important.
Right.
You don't think the most qualified is the most important?
No, I don't think the most qualified is the most important. We need, the best that fits into the conditions.
We need the most
We can respectfully
qualified.
disagree. I'm looking for the most qualified person in
Okay,
this.
then if you want to spend $500,000, that's
Is
fine.
this person bilingual?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, that's
Good call.
exactly what you said, yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
I think additional languages are a wonderful benefit to our force.
Right.
I have one budget question.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about where your teams are.
Are you gonna promote someone, because I think this budget needs that, are you gonna promote someone into, Sergeant Hall's position?
So that's the next part, you can see, so now I have a supervisor vacancy. So I would like actually permission to actually run the promotional process.
And then will there be other police officers going up the ranks?
No.
No, it would be one
One.
patrolman moving up to sergeant. So this new hire will go into patrolman spot, and the patrolman then move to sergeant spot.
Okay, and then what about
So
the
that salary
detective
comes back?
stipend?
Of course it does.
It'll be vacant until, yeah,
You gotta keep that,
well, so the supervisor I have to put a supervisor in the detective here.
okay.
Yes,
So,
But it'll stay, yes.
So Chief,
Yes.
Go ahead.
and now you have in the narrative about, increasing
The highest tier?
the lieutenant, the captain,
Yes.
from 4% to 9%?
No, I didn't put the attendance down. I mentioned what it was.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, historically, and in the police commission meeting, we did go out and get some numbers. I did want to present you something official. I apologize, I don't have it at this point in time. We're working on it. But that's what it was in
Got it,
1993.
What would you propose, or what do you think you're looking at?
So, you know something, I'm not a slob. I'm not something basically, we're not looking to basically, be unreasonable here, but it looks as though the majority of the departments around us have 7 to 8% between the lieutenant and captain. It provides somewhat of a compensator for guys and something that no one can offer for overtime, and also too, it's commensurate with basically the responsibility of the job and professionalism. And it also, what it does is create incentive for the position, because I do have a couple of really good people that, you know, something, as there's some movement, they may not want to go that next level because of something, you know, the non-commensurate pay increase. So I think many years ago, actually this happened to me, because I went from sergeant to captain, and this decrease actually affected me personally, and I think, and I read some of the information that the former Chief Bruno had. I think he had pitched, and again, didn't take place, and we never went back at it, but that it would be 4%, and then it would have some kind of stepping process along the years, and it's just 12 years later, nothing happened.
Okay.
You know, something, but it's, and again, 3 people. I know budgets are tight, now something, and I know you folks do your best or something to keep the cost down, but that's one area that is, it's a problem for my rank structure.
So if that were, so the budget currently doesn't have that increase?
No.
Just let's finish going around the room with a question about the chief being able to replace the officer who's leaving. We're up to you, Joe. Yes, Manu?
I'm a yes.
Julie?
Yes.
You got 6 yeses, so there
So
you
listen,
go.
folks, I will absolutely do my best or something to continue to increase our diversity. This individual's been waiting, you know, something, I think it would be disrespectful to went around and said, just for a woman. We got a woman, we're gonna have more, something, so I will work today.
And he has diversity
Yes,
in
he
his
does.
background.
He does,
I'm not
yes.
something
Chief,
that-
to that question, the last group of people you interviewed, where Caitlin got hired, and she
Yes.
was number 4, right?
Yes.
How many people had you interviewed or took the chief's test in terms of that?
You know, something that was problematic, I've said it, so we used to do about 200 to 300 people. Per spot.
Right.
We had 60.
60. So Julie, to my point, Julie.
60 applied, but 49 showed up.
So to my point about your question, she was number 4
Great as a job.
out of 49 or 60, right? She got to the top of the list, she got hired.
Is this being, are we on?
Yes, everything is live and recorded, yes.
Right. We had another female candidate too, but.
It didn't
I'll
work
leave it
out,
at that. Yeah, so there was an issue, so.
Jeff?
All right, so moving on a little
Yes.
bit, Chief.
Yes.
You know, we get your daily, either from you or someone else in your department, the daily recap of the prior day, which appreciate very much.
Yes.
And we all know that we see on that every other day, this one not reporting
yes.
for their
Yes.
shift.
I
And,
share your concern.
well, here's the thing, and I look at the overtime,
Yep.
which has gone from 212
3 something.
to 3, here, I got it.
Yes.
It went from 212.5, roughly 4 in 2018, to 340.5 in last year. I think this council needs your recommendations as to how to, the two probably go hand in hand,
How to stem it?
how to stem it.
Yes.
So last year, and some of you probably already heard this also too, and I don't take any, you know, get any, enjoyment out of this, but I started doing some home visits. Some towns have done that.
Wow.
It what?
We hired a
Home
home
visits.
inspector.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Right,
We
keep
hired
going,
yes,
somebody.
right.
going.
You did.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
the department.
The department. All right, so, yes.
So I've already seen a dramatic change. One of them involved, pretty severe discipline already. The message got out pretty quickly. We're not doing this for the occasional, the average. We're doing this for the ones, the individuals that, it's, I don't want to say abusive, but they're higher. So I've incorporated that. And, the new contract coming up right now also, too, so I think some things have been discussed with the labor attorney. But part of the problem is that, and let's, the sick time in our contract, so could benefit me if I got really sick, so it's a double-edged sword. But there's a lot of sick time, something, so FMLA has contributed to some of this. Yeah, I went through a tough time with some injuries, and then people left, that wasn't the overtime. But one thing that we never had that, I'll say it publicly, it frustrates me, and I'm a little old school, but employees can stay home sick with a child, with a family member. I have to honor that. We never had to do that, and that's contributing too. And yeah, there's some circumstances where I know that that's helpful, but I think they get abused also too.
Right, is there any percentage that just, I got injured on the job, I'll be out a week, is that happening?
I don't have a lot of that.
Okay.
So a lot of it basically, that would be a workman's comp situation. I don't have a lot of that. I have a, guy needs a new shoulder, new hip, or hurt his knee, or they're just out, something, and with we got the human resources person, people, we had two, right, I'm looking for another one. When I first came in, I was like, how's this gonna like complicate my life? Actually, they were very helpful, something, and what can we ask? We're limited what we can ask, something, right. And we started to be able to, try to, look into this a little bit more, but again, we're limited still on what we can ask, something, and what the employee's rights are, something, and.
But the home visit was the success program call.
Yeah, and something that's gonna continue again with cases that we think is something are too high, something or above average. That's, mostly abusive, above average, something, the higher average one.
Appreciate you taking that step.
Yeah, something.
But we need, if this stays high this year, we're gonna need to look at some, whatever options are available to us and guidance. I mean, even at this point, that increase, it's almost cheaper to run our own little mini daycare here and hire someone and have them bring the kids to a daycare. I mean, when you look at the cost.
It's interesting, so these federal programs.
Businesses are doing this.
These federal and state programs come along that get a lot of support from people, right? And then what we're seeing here is the cost of the implementation of them is enormous.
Is enormous. But I thank you for what you're doing.
I know some employers have done a 40-hour limit. If that was the case, that would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But, right now it's incorporated into their bank, and it's beyond that. And you're asking a question to a guy who's been out sick 6 days and 29 years.
Right.
So it drives me nuts.
I mean, is there anything to incentivize,
So
the opposite, positive behavior, show up to work and,
right.
But like the overtime, I wish we could.
Councilman Park had brought it up in the past, and some departments have had some success with that, but I'll tell you something, I mean, so we're not civil service, and so fortunately, it's something, when we do a promotional process, we get to look at, something basically more indicators, more features, more attributes of an officer, from productivity, can't do summonses, but other things, something, initiative, complaints, discipline, one of them basically is sick time, something, and that weighs heavily into promotion. But we have also, too, some people, something that aren't seeking promotion. It's almost kind of like a generational thing. I don't know if you're seeing this also, too, in the private sector, but some people are just very content with, and it's like, don't we want to...
Certainly not for the borough, and certainly not for the police, it's for everybody, absolutely. It's hard.
Yeah, it's a little puzzling, something, so when you lose that that incentive, you know, something, it becomes challenging because if people really wanted to move on, then they would probably start getting figure on sick.
So here's something, I'm not sure we can do this, but can you say if you were out the past week, you cannot accept an outside duty job?
I thought we did that last year.
I don't think we did it by contract.
That was discussed.
It was discussed, we
Yes.
never implemented it.
Right,
So
right.
can we, is that something that you would be in charge of? Is that something our contract would be in charge
No,
of?
that would be the, labor attorney.
Well, instead of disincentives or punishments, one thing to do is for every sick day you don't take, you get X amount of dollars at the end of the year. You get half the sick time.
We can't afford to pay back the sick
But
days.
if you want an incentive system for people not to take sick time,
And it
you
might
reward
save
them for
you
not taking it.
on the overtime.
It might be cheaper.
That's easy.
Everyone will get sick in the department because someone's sick will show up to work. So we actually want people who are sick to be,
Right, so
let's not knock our whole force down at once.
Also,
I'm just saying.
you can't have it both ways.
Yes, but.
You want to cut down on sick time, incentivize them not to be sick. And, you know, it goes on in the private sector all the time.
we did do a little bank for the
What?
admin unit. We did do a bank. We did a bank for the newer employees.
Right.
Not the ones that are getting 130 sick days, but like for the ones that were getting 10. We did a bank up to 30 days.
Whatever it is,
But it
right?
would also incentivize because if somebody needed let's say a hysterectomy, they might be out for more than 10 days, and that wouldn't cause a hardship on someone. So it was, you know, good in two ways, and they don't use all their 10 days sick time because they might want to build it up a little.
You would find there's no,
I don't like the
it's
bank.
not a coincidence.
I think it was a good idea.
It's not a coincidence that in government agencies, people are sickest, quote unquote, on Mondays and Fridays.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Not on Tuesdays
Every
and
Friday in
Wednesdays.
the summer,
Right,
every
right.
Friday.
And especially if it's a sunny day out in July. Yes, Julie?
Can I don't want to screw up this flow, but I did have a question that wasn't about this.
Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Of course.
Is everybody okay?
Of course, ask the question.
Okay, so Chief, where are we with the, this was from previous budget, the security cameras? Have they been ordered already?
For where?
That you were bundling them to be the Davis Johnson one and the teen one, the
Roosevelt.
teen center area, you had like a few together. And that was a previously approved amount of money.
So this is the one project that frustrates me because we just can't execute some reason. So how much money do I have? There's a communication issue.
I think it's somewhere, I don't want to say exactly, but it's guys like 10,000, something like that around there.
So
I forget, but if there's good news,
Oh.
you might be needing to get more security within the borough, and we could bundle more together. Or there's cameras.
Did we want to include the senior center too?
Senior center and the nature center, both
Yeah.
Oh.
But the nature
There's
center new
cameras
aspect,
in the
but
right
part
there.
of this original thing
Yeah.
was, it was senior center was part of it, teen center was part of it, the outside doors, Davis Johnson, it wasn't the inside the meeting room, but outside, and the Rose Garden, two there.
And I believe Roosevelt Monument there.
Roosevelt Monument,
was-
right, I think was on one of the original talks
Can I
about it.
suggest something?
Just
I suggest
something.
that we form a committee that we stay on this or something because we talk about it, I get some quotes and then like the funding's not there and then all of a sudden, we don't do it. But
But I thought we
I would.
had
Is the funding there or not?
The funding is there for the other places, but
Let's get that
now
all
there was a
lined up.
discussion with the nature center,
the
right?
new piece.
Do you know about that?
Well, the nature center, I'm happy to help her, but she keeps saying that she wants to put it into my budget. I'm like, what are we talking about? Have you read that? She's on the-
Yes, we know all about it, yes.
Yeah.
She was at the new board.
We've applied for a grant for that.
But,
Okay.
but no, let's keep it to the one topic here. If the nature center is part of our town, so, and they have just these security needs,
Let's say we do pay.
what do we,
Whatever,
you know?
Let's say we end up paying for it. Just make a list of X, Y, Z cameras, here's location 1, 2, 3.
We have a lot of locations, it would be nice to consolidate.
Yeah,
them all.
yeah.
The way we budget
One,
is
it's gonna be, it's gonna be,
negligent
we'll have
at
to go
best.
out for bids, which is fine, something we'll
Or
get. Perfect.
What are the three things we're
And then,
offsetting? What are the three things we're getting smarter of?
It would obviously point back to the PD, but I would
Record
like
department.
the
Today.
independent place to be able to look at their own stuff,
Yes,
like
yes.
the nature
Their
can
own
see their own
computer.
stuff, but we'll house it. A lot of it's cloud-based now, but okay, there's some,
Yeah, yeah.
you
like, senior center knows where they want with their camera. Teen center know where they want their camera. Davis Johnson and Rose Garden knew what they wanted with their camera. And I think it had been budgeted previously, but Tenafly Nature Center will also have the desire, and I'm just saying
Chief knows, he's got the quote, he knows what's that.
So what's the delay with implementing it?
Six cameras, like you
Well,
said.
so now we're adding locations, so
we'd be adding another 2.
I'm gonna have to get quotes from all of a sudden, the cost has gone to the point where I'm gonna need 3 quotes.
So, okay, wait, time out a second. So we're talking about the senior center, the youth center, and what else?
Davis Johnson
And
area.
that money is already budgeted, right?
There's money that's been budgeted and.
So what's the holdup to getting that installed?
So in the past, it was like a little project, and my IT person was gonna, but now I think it's at a level where I have to go to an outside, I have to look for an outside vendor first, right?
Yeah,
State
well,
contract.
you're
I
gonna
mean,
have
the
to
cost
get
level's gonna be
either
so high that
competitive quotes,
I'm gonna have to
or
do,
we have to
I have a couple hurdles
look
now
for
that I
state
gotta
or
get
cooperative.
over.
State or
And
cooperative
now we're
executive.
just telling you here, like Councilwoman Davis
Or
saying,
where
Nature Center is gonna be part of that.
Okay, so if you want the nature center to be part of it, you've now just delayed this project from even starting until sometime after July.
No, he hasn't started it yet, is what he
Yeah,
said.
not done.
That's not my point, okay? So if you want, if the chief and Susan have to figure out the contracts, the quotes, all that stuff, they can start that on Monday morning. If you now want to add the nature center into it, who's applying for a grant, which they may or may not get, and the council needs to do an ordinance to use money from the Open Space Trust Fund, you've now delayed the entire project till sometime after July.
Do you see it that way?
Well, because they won't be hearing about their grant until after July.
So we could just, what we could do is look for a cooperative or state, contract, and then bundle it all together, and then if we don't use all of the money, then we just cancel that part of the.
So you're gonna be doing that Monday, including the nature center in it?
Well, I think we should include everything,
So,
because he said he's gonna do it twice.
but even though we don't have the money to do it yet with,
Well, we can figure out the money later. There's been times where we did use municipal open space as another funding source, and then, the nature center, we get the bill, and then we would fund part of the bill, and they might pay some of the bill. I'll have to work out the
so
logistics.
if the nature center gets the grant, then in July, that will use that money to refund wherever you took it from.
Well, they could use that grant money, and then maybe, or maybe some of the money that we're giving them, they could use, and then use the grant money too. You know, I can work out the money.
Like, I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, this is probably advantageous as far as time-wise, because he's already going to be doing this work come Monday about these other cameras.
Yeah, if Susan is saying she can figure out the money without waiting until the grant, I'm just trying to make the point about the grant money is important, so
Yeah.
that we're all on the same page here.
We can figure it out.
Then you should do it.
Yes,
Right,
do
then
it
that
one
makes sense.
time, all
Anu,
of it.
go ahead.
Actually, just on this, I think first we should determine where the money is coming from and.
Well, I'm gonna have to figure it out.
Right, so
Yeah.
once we figure it out
Like-
and how much we
okay.
have available, then.
So I can't figure anything out until we know how many cameras,
Because-
how much, where they're gonna be. You know, I know what we have, but I don't know what we're gonna need. So once I know how many cameras are at the nature center, how many cameras are here, then we're gonna look at the money, and then you're gonna have to tell me what we need.
I'm only saying that because, I think
Well,
the
it came
only
in in
one that
March.
we've actually allocated.
The meetings were now
No, I
made.
just
You know,
said money.
David
We did-
Johnson already has
All
been
allocated.
allocated.
Yeah, there's other money
Is
there.
All right.
in capital?
Yes.
So there's a lot, Susan, there's a lot of details that
Yeah.
to work out with the
And it's also gonna be storage, because that's our server.
It's
Yeah.
to there,
Right.
it all goes back to his mother.
If everybody watches their own cameras, and there's an emergency, what happens?
It all gets watched.
No, so I still have to have access to it, but the entity, the department should be able to see their own cameras also too.
Okay.
But I would be happy to facilitate, if you're saying make a committee, I'm okay with assisting in that effort. If you need a council person on a committee to just be like,
Well,
camera.
I normally wouldn't say that, but for this thing, this is the one thing project that we just keep stumbling on. Give me a couple of people and we'll meet and we'll get it done.
Julie, congratulations, you're appointed to the
Thank
No,
committee.
no, just do the police commission, we're already together.
But they've already got it,
We'll look
they've
at
already
it.
got it underway.
Okay, got it.
We don't need to throw more people into it.
That's fine. That's fine. Dan and I are police commissioners. You wanna talk about the vehicle request? 'Cause
Real
that's
quick,
always-
community food system, I'm a big proponent of it.
Right, that's.
You want to expand that program by any chance? More.
Community
Nick-
policing?
More events.
Nick Rue, sorry, Sergeant Rue, forgive me, what was he looking to do? He's looking to get,
Okay.
he's looking to get donations going to that, and he thought that it might have to return to a trust account. Is that,
Yes.
is he get
All
donations?
donations have to be put into a dedicated trust.
Just for, community.
Yeah, so he's looking for more money, something, and he's looking to try and get it from the community. But through establishing a trust account.
Dedicated.
For what purpose?
Community policing.
Yeah, like if
So
we make
what-
a festival.
Bike.
We make
Oh, they
a-
do like a community night,
Okay,
something, they go.
okay, got it.
They do
Pride.
coffee with a cop, they do a lot of stuff
Got
and
it.
stuff, and we've got a good crew.
It's great.
That's
Yeah.
very good.
Is that difficult to do with the trust account?
No, just.
Well, usually you adopt the resolution, then we send it to the state, and then
Let's
they
do
give us an approval, but, what I did one other
I'll
time,
save the brush some money,
is
but
send
money
it
will
to
come
the
in.
state first in draft form,
Okay.
and then they gave me the go-ahead to go. So I think it's more proactive,
Love that.
yeah,
I gotta look into that, I know.
so.
Yeah, good question. I like that answer.
I mean, the sheriff's supposed to,
Right, okay.
I'm sure you
Yeah.
have that number.
But cars,
Yeah, sorry, chief. I know there's a $30,000 line item in the operating,
Oh, yes.
and then you always raise money out of your own budget, which
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yes.
So in capital, we have a utility vehicle and the uplift cost.
yes.
So is that the 30,000 that we're already budgeting, or is that
I
separate?
took it out,
We took it out?
yeah.
So
Took that
then,
So,
out.
hold on, so they did, we do my capital, so there was a utility vehicle and capital that we took out, right?
and then there's one in operating. There's a car in operating somewhere.
We took one out. There was, so you folks have been gracious enough to give me 2 cars per year, and I've been able to budget for 2, and been able to get 3 with the money that's been accruing in the outside job, vehicle fee.
Yep.
So what I was hoping to do is I would, and again, try and come in a little flatter and, something, give you guys a break, to maybe go with, 1 car less, so you could give me budgeting for 1 car, and then hopefully that other outside line will accrue enough money again to buy another car. So I was willing to work with you and not get an extra
And
car.
not get 3, so
Right.
two cars. So we have one on page 16. Susan has recommended 30,000, but that's not the outfitting of it, right? That would be another.
Oh, no, hold on.
Upfitting, so, right,
But-
upfitting or outfitting, I don't know.
So, I think we start, the vehicle purchase line operating starts with some money, but you gotta remember something, we're already in April, and since January 1, is that money that's been accruing, or not, I guess?
It's different.
Well, there's actually money in that account, not because every job that's being worked, $125 is going in, so that's probably not the same money, but there's an amount of money in there.
Yeah, so what happens is,
Sure.
every time they do an outside duty job, and
Yeah.
we do the face, the chief's been able to buy extra cars from
Well,
this
just one,
budget.
yeah, I don't.
Which has been great.
But you're not really, upfitting the car until you get the money in there. You usually can upfit and buy a car. Last year you did pretty good, I think, with the money that came in, it doesn't show your.
Right, last year was a banner year.
Yeah.
You can't always assume it's gonna be the same every year.
No, you can't, depending on the jobs,
So-
but depending upon the jobs, but.
So I'm sorry, this is, the one in the capital is out right now, the 46?
Yeah,
But is the upfitting, or upfit cost for 35 in?
well, what'll happen is,
The 46
I'm
still
pretty
shows.
confident you're gonna be able to buy at
Hold
least
on.
1 car this year.
The 46 still
Yeah.
shows.
So I'm
Still
sorry,
says 40 in the
46.
recommended.
It says 40 in the police utility vehicle.
Yeah, that was supposed to be scratched, I believe.
I have to
Take
take
it
that,
out?
good
Yeah,
news.
take that out.
Oh, no, that doesn't come out. There's
I'm
somebody
sorry, I
else.
just used pen.
Your
No.
I don't have.
It was, the building department.
Building is on that
Yeah.
line too.
That building department, I put 2 cars on that line.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Oh,
that's.
so, no, so
One
they're right,
comes
the
out.
40 stays, but
Yeah,
it
the
is
40
out,
days,
yes.
Yeah, it's out, okay. So the chief should be able to, based on past history, I'm confident he'll be able to get 1 car with the upfitting out of his budget when they reimburse for outside duty jobs.
So explain to me then, I'm sorry, the 30, we can keep that in, Susan, in the operating?
That's 30 plus, he'll keep getting reimbursements to that line, to the outside duty for the use of the vehicles on the job, and that builds up.
So that's 30 here and then 35 in capital, and then we can
Nothing
outfit
in capital.
2. So you took out the outfitting as well?
Yes,
Right,
that was out there already.
because he's gonna recoup that
Mhm.
with the outside duty. Okay, we're confident of that. And then if you do a banner year, which has happened before, towards the end of the year, the chief will come to the police commission
Make a request.
and request
A
another
third time.
vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And you guys they've always said yes to that.
Now, Councilman Michaels had sent me an article quite a while ago about New York City Police Department using green vehicles, which I knew was always like kind of a non-starter here, was like, oh, you know, we can't have green vehicles with these kind of police-ready ability. Is that changing?
It is. And so I think I spoke to you, but we actually had gotten, I'm not saying we're going for the Tesla, but we test
Totally
drove.
Tesla.
We test drove a Tesla. The prosecutor's office got a Tesla, and it's actually black and white, and they have marked as prosecutor, control unit, something, and they might even have on the back of it, like, purchase with forfeiture funds, whatever it is.
I love it.
That's pretty good.
So,
They had a SWAT vehicle.
they gave it around to a bunch of different towns. I had to drive it myself.
Is it fun?
I was blown away. I mean,
Okay.
I have,
Best acceleration
I've got Dodge Chargers with Hemis in them, right? And that Tesla will leave that Charger in dust.
Yeah.
That's how fast
So-
that is.
Yeah.
There's no transmission, there's no gap, it's
Full
just
power,
instant acceleration. Now,
What is the heat?
now,
We're putting in a charger
right,
Right.
so,
this year, next year.
We would need a bunch of them.
So,
Yeah, we
here's
need
the-
one.
so if it's an administrative function for the Detective Bureau, even probably for the Traffic Bureau, they're probably, I think I had mentioned that I could probably look to put, one of those cars in place, in one of those places, because those cars are used for one shift per day, actually probably not even every day. They're not the patrol cars that go 24/7.
Right.
The patrol cars, there's something that are different, so basically, worst case scenario, I got a mass scale incident that goes on forever, or days, I don't have time to charge them. They just have to go get fuel and come back. So the patrol cars would still, obviously, right now, with the current technology, need to be the conventional vehicles.
Yes.
But when these green vehicles, probably could be introduced into one of the admin or adjunct squads. I think they're more expensive.
Depends on what you, so my fear, by the way, with the upfitting, I say upfitting
Yes.
correctly, you know, the heavier the car, the worse the charge is
Yeah.
really the thing.
Yes.
So I just, depends on what you put in it. But the other thing I was gonna say is for idling purposes around town. No, I mean, there's so much greener for idling,
Right,
for the school
right,
patrols and everything like that.
right.
I would love to see this turned over to green. Love.
Right. See, the industry's heading in that direction, and we're getting there. We're getting back to the power draw. That's why the admin or the adjunct squads that don't, the Detective Bureau cars, they're not gonna have as much. The patrol cars have a lot, the computer, the camera, the lights, the radio, things like that. But the technology now is going LED also too, so you also have less draw on some of these things also too, so the technology's all, we're in that direction.
And there are, different levels of chargers, obviously the fast charger, is significantly better, you know, full charge in a couple hours versus,
Right,
you know,
right.
right now I need 8 to 12 overnight, or,
That's why it would be introduced initially into the adjunct squad, I mean, the secondary positions.
So, off cars for a minute, just math question here, love math. The automatic license plate readers, which you want a few more, which I think they've worked great.
Right.
So, you said they're about 6,000 each, but in the capital, we have 21,000 as the number, and that's not even close to divisible by 6. That's 3.5 of them. So that's more of a Susan question maybe, of why.
I'll tell you why, because the chief and I spoke about this, and there's certain locations that he felt that were more necessary to start putting these in. So there was Highwood, I think you said.
No, I'm talking math, though, Susan.
Oh, yeah.
6, 12, 18,
Well,
24, but
we came up with a
21
number
is...
of 21,000 based on the actual number. I think you were gonna put in 3, or how many were?
So let's talk about the other time. So right now, we have your approval, and I went to forfeiture funds, and I spent $66,000 on forfeiture funds, right?
66,
From crime fund, which is good. We put cameras around town, and there's 2 cameras on every entrance exit to town. Have any of you seen the device up on East Clinton Avenue by 9W the trailer?
the little,
Yeah, that's like a little thing on the side of the road. It looks like a robot, you don't know what it is. That's a license plate reader that is owned by the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office. that is a temporary unit. The reason that's temporary is because the last last spot that we wanted, the last remaining spot to cover thoroughfares was East Clinton Avenue by 9W, but the prosecutor's office said, we're gonna be putting in cameras along 9W, Palisade Avenue, East Clinton Avenue, Hillside, Closter, Dock, right? Well, they haven't done them yet, they got hung up a little bit, they're coming. So here we have this beautiful, curtain of cameras, and we have that one void, and we're like, something, we know a lot of people travel that way, so they're filling that void right now. So that's just 2 cameras. Right now, every thoroughfare needs 2 cameras. So we did the ring. The ring, basically what it does is, when we have a crime, right? There's so many cameras in town, so many Ring doorbells, so many Nest cameras, right?
Yeah.
That basically we can see a car associated with it and go, and then right away go to our, and we go, that car came in 5 minutes ago on this, and he left 5 minutes ago over this, and so that has value. But we have nothing on the interior. So I put out there something, and that, would you want to consider putting down some of the interior? Because it's a downtown area. So, I do get complaints about traffic or juveniles or shoplifting downtown. One on Washington, one on Westfield Avenue, one on Howard Avenue. Down there, not so much the license plate reading, because you can get cameras that capture footage. The license plate reader the reason I have 2 at every entrance exit is because the technology is, it's a narrow focus. So I have one looking at one lane, one looking at another lane. When I first started doing this, I thought, one will take care of both. It's not there yet. I think that technology is coming. But I just felt it's something, there would be a value for us to put some in the downtown area. And again, there's a lot of rules. We can't just look at them arbitrarily. You have a crime, you have a complaint, then we go look at them. Do we have the ability to look at them in real time? Is something going on? Absolutely. But this is not, again, Big Brother wanting to just, but we do get, complaints, we get crashes that took place that people leave the scene or shoplifting. So for those purposes, and where probably the majority of residents congregate, something in a more concentrated area, there's probably a need to have them. I know Anglewood has them all along their business district.
So to my question, the real answer is they're closer to 7,000 than 6.
They probably are. So what that was.
That was the whole thing. I just wanted to know. I'm all for them. I understand why we have them.
Excuse me, one last thing is the camera, that cost gives you like a 5-year service contract, which is great. The one issue, that's one of the lines that I asked for more money, unfortunately something right now is that each location needs a modem, and it's about $40 wireless cost, right? So the prosecutor's office, again, and they're pretty confident, they're going to be establishing a mesh network throughout Bergen County. And when that happens, modems are gone, or the modems are gonna, apparently those costs are gonna go away. I don't know when it's gonna happen, something like that is coming, so this is a temporary thing, which is good. So in the future, these cameras will just have probably just the hardware part of it, and then I guess the initial installation and service contract, but the monthlies should go away. Yes.
So Chief, so sticking with the Alfred, we had a discussion about, not the one internally, but
I'm heavily invested in coal stocks, so I'm all for electric vehicles.
Let's say in Englewood. Have we talked to them about splitting the cost, Dumont, any of these?
No, something, it's a great point, something,
because each one needs it.
So, yes and no, so.
On our borders?
Yeah.
So initially, when I first looked at it, you're right, but so all of our cameras now they're on our streets, on the borders, and they're pulled in a little bit from these, from the actual border itself. So some of these towns, not like they can use our cameras for their purposes, because if someone's traveling on a thoroughfare, right? If it's on a thoroughfare, you can probably tell you where it goes, but you can't put on a thoroughfare because we put utility poles to put them in certain locations, so they're pulled in a little bit. So they benefit us more because they're on our streets.
But
so a neighboring town, it's not like you can put one right in the middle of the border,
sure,
and it's going to work both ways. So it's a little bit biased. So town may want to, like, they're going to share. Listen, they're benefiting from some of but we don't want it, we want it by us, like, so there is an advantage for exactly where it goes on that border, you understand what I'm saying?
The thing is, you know, this is all going through the county, right? So it's
Yes.
the county that's,
Yes.
holding it, and then each county gets the
Yes,
benefit of it.
yes.
I mean, each town within the county gets the benefit of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying, you know, even if it's on our,
Yes.
our town property,
Yes.
I mean, we could do one on our town's property and one on their town's property, you know, on each side of the road, and, you know, have each of us split the cost of it, but we go to the same database, and the same video database.
Right, right.
But, you know, so wouldn't that make sense to, you know, have it that way?
It would, you know, other towns, they have to be on board with the project, and this is something that you involve multiple towns, and with a joint project, it's a little challenging. We've already bought our cameras for our purposes, we've been serving Tenafly. Now, I'm waiting for the prosecutors to actually to fulfill their agreement and put the one up on East Glen Avenue. I don't wanna buy that one, they're gonna do that one. The ones I'm looking now, which is interior, would be obviously
Police are just actually
Tenafly
down
purposes in the downtown area.
Do you
But
know
no,
that?
Yeah, the extra ones
I understand what you're saying.
That's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, the extra
I-
ones, because there were so many of them.
What happened was that
older
the
retired
need
people
was,
being replaced
you know,
by
was
new.
great,
I'm gonna ask you
and
this.
I
I bet you
moved on
$1
to
that's complicated.
Tenafly,
I bet
and
you
to go to
$1.
another town would have been very challenging.
Yeah.
Time consuming.
The unit-
You got
You know, we just got
Right,
our grievance.
But
Is she putting
you're right,
in-
you're right, sharing the cost would have been ideal.
I mean, it
No, maybe
was
not,
brought up.
maybe not.
Hold on a second, one at a time. Venue's got the floor.
Yeah, it was brought up, in previous, you know, the last two, I think,
Yeah,
and,
right.
you know, I just don't, know if it was acted on. Okay.
So can I,
Lauren?
if you don't mind switching the topic, I actually want to talk about crosswalks and striping for a second. So a lot of our crosswalks have literally actually worn off. We had talked about reflective striping and safety, especially on the River Edge Road and in downtown. I'm not seeing like any big initiative here, but I do want to work on this. So, you know, I think walkability is something that we as a council are working on with our downtown committee. And so what, can we, I guess, ask your traffic division to either make requests to restripe or to create new striping? For example, where Mrs. Ma passed away, of course, on Angle Street, there's still no striping or crosswalk there, and we do know that residents walk there. Can we do some sort of analysis?
I think there's a request of the road department to do that.
I know, but it's still not there.
So here's the thing,
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So every year, I would hope that do you remember the days when we had our own traffic person?
Right.
Nick.
A civilian that did painting and stuff, and then we pushed that responsibility, that function over to the road department, and we had some challenges with staffing and something that, so every town, and usually road departments, they have their own painting machines, and I would like to think that they go out and they're gonna repaint everything every year.
They never do, right now.
So, but they're pulling people, they have stick shortages, they gotta put them on the truck, but I'm hoping they're gonna do something. But now, the thermoplastic, which is obviously the better, more durable, more expensive product, whenever you folks, pay a lot of money to have a road repaved, you incorporate that and it gets thermoplastic. Thermoplastic does last longer, but over time it does begin to peel and chip. We, in a pinch, you can try and put like latex paint where it's missing, but you can't, apparently you can't put latex paint on top of it, because it doesn't adhere properly. So the heavily traveled roads, county roads, they do better with the thermoplastic, so I know in the past we've had some money in a line for that, something that I think the road department and I kind of shared that. Is the road department asking for that at all this year or no?
So we have a road program which has a budget for like micro paving and finishing roads, but it doesn't have striping specifically.
I remember seeing thermal paint.
So there is a painting, right, Dan? There's something with painting.
No, it's actually
But
called
again,
thermal.
what I sort of need is a coordination between your traffic division on like where it needs to get restriped and a priority list, like new pathways need to be added here for safety, and this is actually where residents are walking, and then we actually help work with the DPW or a road program and get it done.
So right now.
I want like a follow-through process.
So right now, what exists is there's a work order. Well, actually, this has been pretty successful. There's a work order process. So if the police department recognizes that something, the road department needs something, the town needs something, it's under the road department's control. We do a work order, it goes to Lynn. Lynn then submits it to, I guess, the foreman. We need a sign, we need a changing sign, we need, we need painting, and that goes through their, channels, and it gets done. And so we've had success with that. Well,
Is
well,
it getting
well,
done?
you know, some probably,
That's my question.
probably not everything, but
Yeah.
they're pretty responsive.
Yeah, they actually, just across the street from me, where there's a one-way sign during school hours, took off the during school hours and left as a one-way sign for 24 hours. So they do play with the signs, and it got replaced. That's Downey and
There's
Thatcher.
an issue with some of the residents there about where does the one-way start, so we're working on it.
Right, but I mean, for a full day, I called Mike that it was just a one-way sign, leaving people to believe it's a one-way road.
I do want, like,
So they do, and I will tell you that every year, I watch them at least around the schools. They are repainting the crosswalks, the curbs with yellow, and that gets done during the summer, at least for the schools. I think the problem becomes, and to your point, is that new locations don't get identified and translated to action. I think the ones that already exist oftentimes get handled, but not new ones.
Yeah.
Just two quick ones, and I think possibly they're both for Susan. The first one is, for these budgets, because I was looking at police budget, actually down for the year, which is awesome, extra credit to you. Does this assume, obviously, union negotiations where we are, does this assume what is probable, possible, what's going to happen? I just don't know.
The whole entire budget.
The people budget, I mean,
The people
I've said it before,
budget.
but for, the police is here now. Is this budget what we really believe is going to happen, or it's what, there's a possibility that it goes up and then we miss our budget? Does that make sense?
This budget, as it relates to salary and wages,
Yes.
is what we expect to happen.
Okay, that's good. Okay, perfect. And then the other question, Chief, is, and again, I said this to all the departments, I want to work really hard. I take full responsibility. I say it, and we don't do it. I hope each year we're getting smarter, right? So we're not just taking last year's budget. No one likes the term zero-based budgeting, but what are we doing? I would love for each department to come back on, what are the three things we're doing differently this year to be more efficient? We have, I'm making up silly things to make you laugh, we're gonna get drones to curtail, see what's going on, and maybe we don't need as many people, or we're gonna have robots. I have no clue what those things are, but what are the three things that we're doing? Because we know costs are always going up.
Yeah.
There's inflation.
Right.
There's labor inflation. There's steel inflation. So if you do the same thing over and over again, if you don't grow the team at all,
Right.
and you don't grow the equipment at all,
Right.
it will be more expensive next year.
Right.
What are we doing to get rid of buggy whips? Because we don't need buggy whips anymore. We shouldn't be photocopying as much anymore type thing. Obviously, those are silly examples.
So, an example, it happened a couple of years ago, but we come up with a new system that was, every year we used to go out and we used to basically, every day, twice a day, we'd send guys out to go basically check the crossing guards, make sure they're there. So we have a new system now that crossing guards have to basically, they have to test us around locations.
That's awesome.
So the officers go do something else.
Perfect.
This year, my office, with Christine coming on, which has been wonderful, I gotta tell you, and Jeannie, I love you too, but Jeannie was setting her ways, and with the alarm billing, I always would say, something like, you guys are doing it longhand, like, what are you doing longhand, like, can't you do that? Basically, like, use electronic or something. So, this year, what we did was, instead of doing it longhand with all the alarm billing and something, and folding with a folding machine, and actually doing the hours ourselves, we actually went to the finance, and the tax bill company, basically we had, the alarm billing go out with the same company as the tax billing did, and it was a lot more efficient, a lot less lady hours, and because actually, she has an assistant, I have a per diem that helps out with that, so that was efficient. Right now, we're looking into doing the alarm billing electronically now, and it's a great talking point as well too, something because you remind something. So right now, some people are still sending in checks, right? So wouldn't it be great something? I've always imagined like the borough website, you can go onto one page and do one-stop shopping.
Yeah.
Like
Thank
taxes,
you.
like
That's what I
dog,
said.
cat licenses, a building permit,
Yep.
a firearms permit, my alarm billing.
Yeah.
But it looks as though we have different systems for that, right?
I'm trying to coordinate
could-
it all in one. This is
you-
my goal of this website.
You can pay your tax.
Try to do that.
Okay, it's a
That's
whole-
not my control.
I want automated
do 95%
You know, I
of the
see
whole
something,
month.
I immediately go, it comes to your office, like
As long as we do, it's very funny. The key though is, let's spend the money, even if it's a lot of money, on the alarm on email, and then you don't need the, per diem person, I have no clue, but you just mentioned it.
Well,
And then you do a sort of discounted cash flow, and you realize that, yes.
That was totally my mind. If
Right.
I could make this basically something a lot more efficient, I don't need,
Perfect.
and the per diem person's getting ready probably stays out anyway, but you're absolutely right. But now, when it comes to some of these electronic payments, I know there are convenience fees.
Right.
But you still have the option, that if you don't wanna do the
You bring it in.
fee, you send it in. But a lot of people, I'm kind of one of those, I'd rather just point and click and be done with it,
Yep.
right?
People
So,
pay their traffic tickets online now in New York all the time, and you know.
right,
you
so
log
that,
on, give your
the
ticket
course is
number.
separate from me, but
Right, yeah.
it would be nice to be able to have.
The specific action should be, if we can please include in the narrative next year, the 3 things each department's doing to drive that
So-
efficiency.
Our department is very proactive in automating a lot of stuff.
Perfect.
So, you know, we automate almost everything, like we change everything, like you guys used to take us to the bank. We did remote deposit,
That's right.
so they
Right.
don't, the officers
We-
don't
we-
have
we
to
are
take us
evolving.
anymore.
Good, that's awesome.
There's
All
always
right.
somebody that
I think we're good.
Great
Chief,
idea.
do you have any more questions for the council?
So yes, just going back, so you granted me approval to hire the
Yes.
officer, thank you very much.
Done.
Don't ask again.
But the promotional process, it's gonna take me a little bit of time also too, because I gotta prepare it, test and things of such. So I like the commission, since we run the promotional process, to promote a patrolman to sergeant, but it doesn't take place until the other sergeant has left.
Dan? Yes or no?
Yes.
Lauren?
Chief, I just had a question on it. So I'm a yes on the promotional process, but I was gonna ask you to find, so that'll bring $20,000 to $30,000 in the salary. You know, I assume you're gonna put the salary towards something similar to Sergeant Hall, who's leaving.
Sergeant Hall is someone who's got 30 years on the job and is.
He's at the top of the step
He's
guy.
off the.
He's off the
He's
step
off the guide, yeah.
And he's got the 2%.
Literally.
So no, so this
Okay.
individual will not
I was
be
just gonna
that
say-
salary.
No,
To
Adam?
find money to
Yes.
offset a promotion.
Yes. Manu?
Yeah, it'll be
Vanu.
a lower.
You, yes?
Yes.
You got your approval, Chief.
You have both.
Chief?
Just run?
Yes, run.
Yeah.
Did you hear?
Did you, Chief, we'll cover
Thank you
that.
very
You have clarity, right?
Thank you very much.
Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I just
So
want to
mo-
say, on the record, thank you, Chief, for keeping our town safe.
We try, we're good listeners, we listen to, the residents, right? Mark, it's something
Of
we're not.
course, we do.
It's not
We
like,
respond to them.
we know about you something and, we use technology, but, something we're always looking to try and improve our craft. It's a collaborative effort, so.
Thank you.
I need a second.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll be-
So wake me